Hello, my friends in film fandom, wherever you may be, and however you may be watching. Thank you for returning to take two of our Comic Con. Now, not even a preview, because now we're 2 days deep into Comic Con officially, but into our Comic Con preview / discussion of what's come on, plus some other news stories, of course. Jeremy not with us tonight. He wasn't available for the second attempt to make this happen, but Connor's in the chat, which makes things a whole lot better. That's not a bad thing to do, but we do have my other two co-hosts here, which are ready to re-talk about some of the things that we were trying to get to last night. The first one, of course, being the Dowager Countess Lady Cora. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing well. In 12 and a half hours, I will be the mother of a second puppy. So, countdown, is going on. So, yeah, exciting.
New puppies. Always a good thing. Hide your...
And I watched a horror show last night. I watched that American Horror short story thing about the dollhouse. Fucking epic. So cool.
I'm converting her.
You might like Coven.
The poison is cold.
I think you'd like Coven.
Yeah.
Coven was my favorite season of American
Coven
Horror
was
Story.
good.
That was the one that actually drew me into the whole series. But, obviously, filling in for Jeremy tonight, going to re-give us his thoughts on the big drop that came the other day with the Halloween Ends trailer, is our good friend from down south, my man Tex. What's up with you, brother?
Howdy, y'all. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for everybody for coming into our time machine, going back 24 hours when we tried to do this in the first time.
Yeah.
So, appreciate everybody viewing on. Shared around.
Yeah, no severe problems so far. A couple of people are floating into the chat, which is nice to see. Again, an odd night for me to be doing a stream. I took today off for personal reasons. I had some stuff going on, and I figured since I've got the night off, we may as well try to redo the absolute shit show that was last night. For those of you who tried to keep coming back and checking in on the stream to make sure that it was... to see if it was going to come back up. It did not. I apologize very much for just the absolute cluster that yesterday's stream was. I spent more than 2 hours researching settings and switching things around and dicking with things on OBS, and I think for right now I've got it in a position where it's not going to do anything too terrible. I think I still need to tinker with a few things, but some resolution things and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think we're in pretty good shape for right now. So that's going to give us an opportunity to talk about some of the things we want to talk about. We'll get right to it with the first story. The only thing we really got to talk about last night, but we're going to talk about it again. And what is the first story, Lady Cora?
Well, Michael Myers is back again. This Halloween season, in the first trailer for Halloween Ends, Universal has released the first look at director David Gordon Green's third and allegedly final entry in the horror series. The first trailer dropped as a surprise Tuesday evening, with franchise star Jamie Lee Curtis announcing the release only a few minutes before it appeared online. The trilogy has seen Jamie Lee Curtis reprise her role as Laurie Strode, a survivor of Michael Myers' original killing spree, now a recluse struggling with PTSD. 2018 film and the 2021 sequel Halloween Kills saw Laurie team up with her daughter Karen, played by Judy Greer, and granddaughter Allison, played by Andy Matichak, when Myers reemerges to attack Haddonfield, Illinois. Halloween Ends slashes into theaters October 14th. Tex, what did you think of the trailer?
I liked it a lot. Obviously I have a couple issues with it, but I'll give you my pros first. I love the ambiance of the film. It feels like October. It feels cool. You can see the autumn leaves. The way they set the town of Haddonfield. I want to live there. It looks like it's a kind of a Americana kind of place. I love how they set the small town feel. The lighting is gorgeous. It goes back to the 78 with that blue lighting that you see. Like I said, once again, that calm, cool nature, but evil's waiting in the background. The shape, Michael Myers, James Jude Courtney is incredible. He's my second favorite, only behind Tyler Moon playing Michael Myers. Now, I'm not a big fan of Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm probably one of the few horror fans that will say that. I've never been a fan of hers. All of my favorite Halloween, all of and I know I'm saying very sacrilegious things, so all my fellow Halloween fans can ask me how to forgive me. I don't really. But all my favorite Halloween films do not star Jamie Lee Curtis. That's why I loved Halloween Kills so much, because she's basically not in the film.
Yeah.
But it's even the way she was presented in this film. I like how they showed her. I mean, she's obviously wearing the same outfit from the '78 with the blue shirt, and the jeans, and everything else. The blonde hair just updated. So a lot of callbacks to the original film, which is the intent, and it was good. There were some negatives. Number one, well, I'll save the controversy for later. But negative-wise, we saw Michael Myers in the last film fighting an entire group of people with weaponry and throwing them around like they're rag dolls. But he struggles to get a 65-year-old woman's hand into a garbage disposal. Like, he could throw him off, which goes into some of this controversy. I think they're...
Maybe her hand was covered in butter and she was very slippery. She was baking a pie.
This could be true. But I think the shenanigans go deeper with this film, and I think Blumhouse and David Gordon Green is pulling some tricks on us here for Halloween. But I'm sure we'll get into those. Like I said, this trailer does well. I like that it doesn't show much. It shows you enough to interest you, but it doesn't give the plot away, because Blumhouse is notorious for giving you the whole film in the trailer. They showed all the best stuff, Halloween 18 and Kills, in both of the trailers. With this teaser, you didn't do that. Honestly, I don't want another trailer. I don't need to see it. And if they release it, I probably won't watch it, just so I go into this film somewhat surprised. So I look forward to it, though.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that, except for the not so much love for Jamie Lee Curtis. But yeah, I agree. It does. There is, look, it's one of the great things about the great horror movies is there is a tone. And when me and Jeremy did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre review a while back, I told him that I liked that really weird, hazy filming that came from the 70s, because if you could go back and reshoot that movie digitally, I don't think it would feel the same. There is something about that hazy film texture that makes that movie a bit more visceral. And this trailer, you're right, it does have a lot of that look. It's not quite as grainy, even though it came out the same period, but I mean it does have that texture and that feel, which I think is fantastic. The other thing I like about the trailer is it gives us the trailer. Look, if the entire movie is just Laurie Strode and Michael throwing hands, I am fine with that, because that's where all this has been leading anyway. I mean, that's where I stick with my prediction. I said this last night before everything went to hell, that I think that her granddaughter Allison is probably going to die at some point, and it's going to come down to those two, and she's going to make the decision to kill them both, because there is one way or another, there is a lineage here that they too will be the last of. And so I think that's going to end up with both of them going down. But yeah, as far as the trailer is concerned, I mean, it gave me what I wanted. I mean, this is where it's all been leading. So why wouldn't the trailer just be 2 minutes of them throwing hands, and they may as well just at the end just put up, come out October 14th to see who wins. I mean, this trailer to me, as I was thinking about it a little bit last night, it's kind of like a heavyoweight boxing or a UFC weigh-in. It's like you know these two guys, these two behemoths of what they are they're going to throw hands, they're going to beat the hell out of each other. It's going to be brutal. So this trailer to me was kind of like the weigh-in. It's like they're standing there, they both got their fists up, and they're posing, and they're making the mean mugs and shit like that. And you're like, just get them in the ring, let's go. Let's go. Let's see who wins this fight. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, like I said, it gave me everything I wanted. It gave me what I knew was coming, and it gave me just a little bit of a taste. I mean, and it's just them fighting. It was such a simple trailer, but I'm like, it's great. I'm a person who likes things that are simple, and this thing was very simple and to the point, and I dug it.
The best Michael Myers films are simple. If you look at 78, pretty simple. Laurie shows up to the Myers house. The only reason Michael even goes after her is because he's the first thing that she saw when he broke out of the asylum. You go into Halloween 2, the story deepens a little bit, which John Carpenter never wanted to make a sequel to Halloween, by the way, for the uninitiated who don't know this. He had to be basically forced into it, and he wrote the script in like the time it took to drink a 6-pack. So just a little behind the scenes. The whole brother-sister storyline that was thrown in to fill script time. It's literally one line at the end of Halloween 281. you can erase it and it changes nothing. But the best Myers stories are simple. And, you know, if you go back to the original intent of the 78, which in this current timeline, you have Halloween 78, Halloween 18, which is 40 years later, Halloween Kills, which is the same night, and Halloween Ends originally was supposed to be on the same night as 18 Kills, but when lockdowns and everything went to hell, they were like, we have a better idea. We're going to set this 4 years later in the current timeline. So that's why you see Jamie Lee Curtis, excuse me, moved on. She's writing a book about her PTSD, which probably the biggest thing that bothered me. If we're to believe this is Laurie's house, she has survived a Halloween massacre multiple times. Why do you have Halloween decorations in your home? And who puts a lit inside of their house? Can somebody explain that one to me? That one.
And
bothered
also, if you're a recluse trying to hide, why are you writing a fucking book?
Right. This is and my biggest problem with Jamie Lee Curtis is the female empowerment. If you go back to any interview she's done for these latest 3 Halloween films, that's the reason she came back. They made her an executive producer and put in all of this stuff. If you go back and watch Halloween 18, it's not a Michael Myers film. It is a story of a survivor's struggle and getting over this and that. It's basically a Lifetime movie featuring Michael Myers. Is all it really is. Why I loved Halloween Kills so much is because it's an 80s slasher in a modern setting. Now, that whole Evil Dies Tonight thing, that was supposed to resemble the Jan 6 stuff. All of this mob justice and mob mentality. There's many interviews and articles that you can read. That's what they were copying. And it's more preaching, more propaganda, more virtue signal. But that's what you're going to get with the
bullshit.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know, unfortunately, films don't get made that don't have that in there. But it's like Frank said a minute ago. I just want to see Michael finally kill Laurie and her stay dead for the final time. Let's move on with the shape. I love Michael Myers. We don't need Laurie then. He can go after somebody else. We've seen it. Hell, Halloween 4 proves it. Halloween 5, which is and 6 is not great. But it's been proven. We don't need Laurie Strode for Michael Myers to have a successful film. So let's move forward, y'all.
Especially if you're trying to do a character arc of him being supernatural or something to explain a lot of the shit. He needs to not if he's supernatural, he wouldn't be just focusing on a person. Him focusing on Laurie seems very human, very emotional.
This is the biggest problem with this trilogy is if you watch Halloween 18, Laurie swears that Michael is obsessed with her. She spent her whole life preparing for Michael to break out and come after her. She had her child took away, failed marriages, a drinking problem, everything else. Michael never cared about her. The only reason Michael went to her in 18 was because of Dr. Sartain, who was Dr. Loomis's understudy, who took over for him when he dies. Dr. Sartain becomes obsessed and goes crazy and brings Michael to Laurie to see how they interact. And in Halloween Kills, you find out from Hawkins, the police officer who is a friend of hers, he straight out tells her, it's a line of dialogue in the film. It was never about you. He doesn't even know who you are. Which the point of doing this was separating Laurie from Michael. They're not brother and sister in this timeline. Halloween 2 doesn't exist. So if it's not about Laurie, why is it all about Laurie? That makes no
Great
sense.
questions to ask.
You know, I mean...
You should have written the movie.
Tell that to John Carpenter. I'd love to sit down. Like, I can do this. I can do this. Hit me up. Like, I'm not hard to find. Come on, guys. Jason Blum, whoever I got to talk to. The Accods, I'll sit down with y'all too. Let's do this thing. I've got some ideas. So.
Yeah, I don't like. Well, Laurie dying is not what I have a problem with. I mean, like I said, I'm predicting that they're probably both going to die at some point. But if this is going to be the end of this iteration of Michael, and they're gonna reboot it sometime down the line with a new
Oh,
take
yeah.
on the Laurie Strode character, or just a new character altogether. Don't even name her Laurie Strode, which I personally
Right.
think is what they should do. Just not even a Laurie Strode character, just kind of redo it,
Yeah, it
redo
needs
it
to
from
be
the beginning.
new.
I think it's more fitting if both of them die, because
Mm.
like I said, I want finality out of this more than anything else, and I don't know that you can have finality in a horror movie when, I mean, Jesus Christ, how many? I mean, that's the old gag with horror movies is you can take the killer, you can chop him up into a million pieces, put him on rocket ships flying to all different ends of the universe, and then 5 months later they're back killing teenagers at Crystal Lake. You know what I mean? So part of me is like, fight the temptation to do that. Go ahead and have some finality here, and then in 5 years or so, I mean, if Blumhouse or whoever else wants to take this and kind of move it on to a different thing and do something new and different and fresh with it, then fine. That's fine by me. But I want finale, because this is not just the completion of this trilogy. This is the completion of the movie that started it all back in '78. So there's a long lineage here. There's really a generation or two of film fans, specifically horror fans, that I think deserve some closure for this whole thing. And again, you know they're going to reboot it. You know there's going to be another Halloween movie somewhere down the line. I say end this line right here, and then take some time to build a new one. Make it different, make it fresh, do new stuff with it, incorporate some different writing styles, whatever. But end this line where it's at. End this story with this version of Laurie Strode that we've known for 40 years now, and 40, well, more than that now, but 40, 45 years almost, something like that. It's like, end this storyline that we've known for 40 something years, and start to build the next one. That's how I would do it. That's how I would like to see it done. How they're going to do it, I don't know. We're going to have to wait to see what they come up with on October 14th. But all I know is I'm excited. Like I said, the trailer gave me everything I wanted. It's just these two throwing hands, and I've got no problem with that. It's going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. It should all be noted there's going to be a couple people returning from the last movie. Let's see. Will Patton's going to be back, which I like Will Patton a lot. I don't think his character really does any good, but I like Will Patton.
Oh no! Well, Hawkins was a main feature in Halloween Kills. I mean, in the flashback scene, that's the Hawkins. That's Will Patton's younger self.
Yeah.
Where him and his partner go into the house, and he ends up shooting his own partner to try to kill Michael. And he could have stopped Michael. All he had to do was just shoot, but they stopped Loomis from shooting whenever they had Michael down on the ground, which I hated to see. Michael Myers should never be in a weak point. He's the shape. He's the embodiment.
Well, you do that for dramatic effect. You do that to build the drama.
Oh, of course.
And that makes the moment. And that's when you make them. That's what makes that moment when he gets up and start wrecking shop that much more of a
Right.
kind of a stand up and cheer moment, because he is, for better or worse, he's kind of the good. He's not the protagonist. He's the one everybody's rooting for better or worse. I mean,
See, I do have one prediction with Will Patton since you brought him up. He was very integral in the last film. He played a minor role in the team. I think he is the father of Karen and the grandfather of Allison. I think that's going to be revealed in this movie.
that's so
And I could be wrong. But it is. But look at who we're dealing with. He has become such an important character. They never revealed who. They never said it was Ben Tramer, from the original film, even though they kind of hinted at it in 18. They said that they had some kind of relationship. They never revealed who the father was of Karen and, like I said, grandfather of Allison. I think that could be coming. I mean, it would fit with the way they're writing the story, so we'll see what comes out of it. I'll be there October 14th for sure. Multiple times.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, this is something I'll probably see in theater a couple of times. But yeah, I don't know if I want that soap opera-y of an ending. But I mean, if that's what they give us, then that's what they give us. I mean, if it doesn't affect the way I like the movie, then I'm ultimately not going to care. But I mean, it's the end. They're going to give us what they give us. This movie's already been shot. It's in post now, so it's going to be in the can here in the next month or so. Yeah. So I don't know. Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. Did you like the trailer for Halloween Ends? Do you think this is going to be the end? Give us some predictions as to what you think are going to happen in the comments below. Lady Cora, what is the next story we'll be talking about today?
Well, everybody's talking about it. Vince McMahon, the WWE CEO, who is as much an on-screen presence in the organization as an off-screen one, is retiring from the company. WWE made the announcement today, with McMahon pledging to continue support the WWE in any way I can, quote. McMahon confirmed the news in a tweet, writing, "At 77, time for me to retire. Thank you, WWE Universe. Then, now, forever together. Hashtag WWE, hashtag thankful." McMahon's daughter Stephanie will assume the role of chairwoman and serve as co-CEO alongside WWE President Nick Khan. McMahon is currently swept up in a WWE Board of Directors investigation into allegations of misconduct alongside John Laurinaitis, head of talent relations for the WWE. The Wall Street Journal reported earlier this month that McMahon agreed to pay $12 million in hush money over the past 16 years to 4 women affiliated with WWE to cover up alleged sexual misconduct and infidelity. And I will add, Frank, that while we were getting the show started, I did see something that Stephanie actually went out live on SmackDown and said something about this. And the crowd said, "Thank you, Vince."
Yeah.
So, yeah, what happened today?
Well, I mean, obviously, I would normally have just kind of left this to go for Derailed on Sunday, because with so many people in the community being wrestling fans, I mean, it's an entertainment thing. It's a topic. It's interesting. Now, those of you who have heard me talk about wrestling over the last couple of years that I've been affiliated with this community, I mean, you go that I stopped watching wrestling full time probably in like the early mid '90s. I mean, I think the last pay-per-view that I paid for was WrestleMania 10. If he could tell you how long ago it's been. Wow. So, and now we're on like WrestleMania 87 or some shit like that. I mean, so I've always kind of I've always watched out of the corner of my eye. I mean, I missed most of Undertaker's career, but I've watched here and there. And I've even been to a couple of events here and there, because my son, when he was 10, 11, 12 years old, was really big into wrestling. So I took him to a few events and I enjoyed him. But, I mean, as far as the...
I haven't missed much, because I've been watching since 2015.
I've heard a lot of people say exactly that. But look,
and it's just been shit.
You know, it's
except for AEW, but that's a whole different issue.
Yeah, as far as the topic of McMahon paying the women for the affairs stuff, I mean, for one, rich, powerful guy with a fuck ton of money at his disposal, that's not really a story to me.
Can I say something about that?
Hold on one second. It's a story old as time. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's not a good thing to do, and if you ever find yourself in that position, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't put yourself in that position at all, to where you have to pay some of the women that you work with to not talk about you guys, doing the no pants dance, behind the scenes. But I mean, so that's not really the story. The story here, to me, is I think Vince sees the way out. I think, look, you call the guy a lot of things, and you would probably be right to call him those things. One thing you can't call the guy is stupid. I mean, he's built this multi-billion-dollar thing.
He saved wrestling.
Yeah.
He literally reinvented it with his dad.
Yeah.
To make it like a national thing. It would have died out if he or someone like him hadn't come around and literally brought it all together and made it a product available uniformly nationwide.
Yeah, but I think
he invented what we know as a wrestling promotion.
Yeah, but I think the problem is now is wrestling's run its course. I mean, there's that old saying, there is a season for everything. Everything has a season. Turn, if you're a music fan. I think the season for wrestling is over. Yeah. I think the season for wrestling is over. I just think it's done. Now I
disagree. I watch AEW, Frank, and let me tell you, AEW is like hot. It's like amazing.
Well, it's hot, but they can barely get 1 million people to watch.
I don't know. I like it personally, but
I'm not saying that it's not still valuable. I'm saying is that now, like when wrestling was first becoming a thing back in the early '80s, when the McMahons were starting to build the WWF and eventually into the WWE. I think if there was less competition for stuff for people's attention.
Yes.
Nowadays, I mean, so many things have come along that pull for your attention. I think the grown man soap opera that it is, and it is. It's not a bad thing. It is. I just don't think it can way it once did because there's so much. And I think that Vince McMahon might be noticing. Look, I mean, the quality has gone down because it used to be you went to wrestling when you didn't make it as a football player. Nowadays, guys who don't make it as football players, they go into acting, they go into podcasting, they go into fucking...
They go the John Cena route, and they become just a presence. They don't necessarily get locked in with the sport like wrestling.
Yeah, they go to the booth to commentate, they go to coaching. I mean, there's... It doesn't suck those guys in the way it once did. So you have a tougher time trying to draw talent. I mean, make no mistake, when you hit home runs with guys like The Undertaker and Dwayne Johnson, It got to a point where they were finding those guys based on sheer luck rather than any talent scouting they were doing. So because most of these big muscle bound guys, look at Terry Crews. I think Terry Crews actually did do some stuff with WWE over the years, right? I mean, there was
I didn't recall.
Yeah, there was
him
a time.
Ever doing anything.
I thought, well, like fucking Mr. T
like
did back at
WrestleMania event.
Yeah, something like that. Not like full time wrestling, but
okay.
something like Pat McAfee did. Just pop into a WrestleMania just for show and just be a part of the spectacle. But there was a time back in the 80s and in the early 90s where that guy would have been a WWF wrestler or WWE as it would become, and it's harder and harder to draw those guys. So now it's like you're not drawing the kind of talent you once did. You've got big time competition for everybody's entertainment dollar. I honestly think that maybe WWE will never fully die. I don't think it ever will. But the days of it being as valuable as it once was, I just don't think are there anymore. So maybe he saw this as a time to go ahead and get out.
Done. Well, I don't think he wanted out. And let's be honest, someone said in the chat, he may be unofficially not there, but as long as Stephanie and Triple H and anybody who knows him and respects him is in control of creative and management, he's still going to be pulling strings. And until that man is dead, he will be influencing the company.
He'll always be in someone's ear, especially with Stephanie still in the building. But
I wanted to say about the money real quick. I'm not saying whatever happened, here's the thing. They say the company, quote, paid out this money. Who's to say that he didn't pay the company back or the money didn't come out of his salary? So I think there's a lot we don't know, and I don't think people should make assumptions that, let the investigation happen. Don't assume that he made the company pay for, quote, NDA payments for women. I mean, there could be a lot more to it. Well, I don't know.
I do still believe in the innocent until proven guilty thing. Now,
right.
Maybe there's little doubt of his guilt, and the real question is where did the money come from that went to these women?
And a lot of people don't realize he and his wife have been separated for 20 plus years, but still legally married.
Well,
and so him having relationships is not necessarily an immoral thing if he's legally separated, in my opinion. So I think he's getting a little bit of the shit end of the stick on the judgment side, but I think he's been terrible for creative. I think he's been awful for management of the company. A lot of people have left because of him and how he doesn't let the wrestlers. He doesn't even call them wrestlers. He calls them, quote, superstars. They're not allowed to use that word. I mean, things like that piss a lot of fans off.
He did that for legal reasons. Because if you back in the 90s, late 80s, whatever, sports entertainers became a thing because if you came into town and said, hey, I have a wrestling show and here are my wrestlers, that infers that it's a true athletic competition. And when that happens, you have to deal with athletic boards in town. And they have to do this testing, that testing. If you just flat out come out and say, hey, this is all a show, this is sports entertainment. Yes, these are athletes, but, it's predetermined. The action is real, but it's all... it's not fake. It's, they cooperate with one another to put each other over, make each other look good, do this and that. And I mean, if it wasn't for Vince McMahon, wrestling would be dead today, even more dead 100%. Than it already is. And it's not that I don't think wrestling is dying because it's never going to fully die. It's
evolving
becoming
and changing. 100%.
Well, it's changing into more of a niche product because if you look at the ratings, AEW can barely get 1 million viewers. WWE is barely over 1 million. So
Okay, I don't look at ratings but AEW seems to have a serious fan base, and I mean,
they do.
tickets
They have
sell out for their live shows. I know, I bought some.
Well, they
that
sell
to me
out,
shows
but
something.
they sell out. But here's the thing: it's one of those things. There's a wrestling channel that I do follow on YouTube, Technical Work Rate Productions, and they go into the behind the scenes and they break all this down. There is AEW has a super hardcore fan base of about 1 million people that wear all the wrestling T-shirts, and they're at every show, but they're into that technical 20-minute match, not really gimmicked up. It's not the Vince McMahon product. It's not the big characters. It's
not
let's
the
go out there
soap opera. It's actual
right.
wrestling.
Well, it's not even wrestling. It's a gymnastics routine where they don't sell for anything, where they can kick each other in the head 15 times and nobody sells anything. And that's my biggest problem with. I cannot stand AEW wrestling. It's a gymnastics. It's no different than a floor routine at a gymnastics competition. That's all that it is. Now, they do have characters that I like. I love Danhausen because he's a character. There are certain things that I like. But just my wrestling background, I love WCW. I love old school Southern wrestling.
I never saw that, but I heard it was great, and I've seen some stuff in clips.
I love the Attitude Era. I enjoyed every minute of it.
By buying it?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like that. Once Vince bought wrestling, it killed it. Like it was a slow death from that point. But Vince McMahon, you can love and hate him all at the same time. I mean, everybody who's ever liked wrestling needs to shake that man's hand because he provided a product that probably wouldn't be around if he didn't keep it around. Let's be real.
Do you agree he should have left a while ago when it comes to creative control? Like, look what he did with NXT.
Yes.
Triple H literally invented and built and nurtured NXT, and Vince recently just took it back, and he's ruined it.
Well, the thing with NXT, the first version of NXT, that helped that whole AEW style of wrestling. That's an indie style of wrestling that takes place in banquet halls and school gyms. That's what NXT
home shows.
took.
Aren't those
and made
what are
it
those
onto
called?
A big
House
level.
shows. House shows. That's it.
It's a house show. They took that independent wrestling scene and said, okay, here's two smaller guys with really no character, but let's go out for 20 minutes and have a match. NXT led to AEW because Tony Khan, with all his money from his daddy, he's a wrestling nerd that he just doesn't collect wrestling figures. He collects wrestlers as toys. He's the kind of dude.
He and Chris Jericho and the guy Cody, whatever his last name is, the one back to WWE. Those three worked together to create AEW because a lot of the complaints they had was that the wrestlers didn't have control of being, building their character in wrestling the way they wanted to, and they wanted to bring back, control for the actual artists themselves. This is something that had been taken away in WWE. I guess that was,
the problem.
To me, the big motivation for it. But maybe it's money, maybe it's what you're saying.
It's too many cooks in the kitchen. What killed WCW, or one of the things that helped kill WCW, was every time a big star would leave WWF and go to WCW, guess what they got? Creative control. Hulk Hogan is famous for saying, that doesn't work for me, brother, because it doesn't put him over. When everybody, Vince McMahon made so many people millionaires. I mean, just look at the list of the people who he's made famous. But they never had full control and design. Now you have guys like Undertaker, John Cena, Rock. Mm-hmm. Once you get to a certain star level with Vince, then you start getting input. Undertaker, when he changed from the Dead Man to the American Badass, the biker character, that was Undertaker helping shape his character, right? So once you get to a certain level and there's trust built, Vince worked with a lot of dudes. I can't hate Vince McMahon. Is he dirty for what he did? Good. But like Frank said,
I think he just should have left 10 years ago, though. I think he should have left 10 years ago and let Triple H and whoever, just.
He was never going to turn it loose. If it wasn't for this,
I know, and he's not doing it now either. Do you agree? Do you agree he's just going to be puppet master? Okay, yeah. Until he's dead.
He still owns. Now I don't watch a lot of modern wrestling. I've walked away from most of it. I went from being a hardcore wrestling fan to a casual because most of it sucks. There's like three people that I keep up with at this point, and I do that through Twitter and YouTube. But it's got to a point where Vince was never going to walk away if it wasn't for the scandal. He would have died in that share creatively. But here's the one thing. He still owns a majority shareholder stake in that company.
And I think that's his excuse to control creative. He'll be like, you have to keep me happy. Otherwise, I might sell everything and you'll be fucked.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, he could, manipulate stock prices so much.
I'm about to say, WWE is publicly traded, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, they are. Oh,
okay, so he could sell a bunch of stock, yeah. How much stock does he own?
He probably owns at least 40%.
51%. No, he's the majority shareholder.
About to say, he would have to be the majority shareholder.
I think it's 50.
He's off the board of directors, so he's not. Then they literally moved him from, he's not on the board anymore. He just is running creative, and now he's retiring, and then he's now going to be puppet master, and that's all it's going to be. But
I do want to circle back around a little bit. The direct quote from his statement says, "As I approach 77 years old, I feel it's time for me to retire as chairman and CEO of WWE. Throughout the years, it's been a privilege to help WWE bring you joy, inspire you, thrill you, surprise you," always the showman in this statement, of course, "and always entertain you. I would like to thank my family for mightily contributing to our success, and I would also like to thank all of our past and present superstars and employees for their dedication and passion for our brand. Most importantly, I would like to thank our fans for allowing us into your homes every week and being your choice of entertainment." This article does go on to say a little bit about the history. McMahon purchased the WWE from his father in 1982, turning a fledgling art form into a billion-dollar business. Since then, he has retained an iron grip on the company's content and direction, making his decision to retire a surprising one, even amidst scandal. Another thing that's come out about this, and Tex, I think you had tweeted me something about this earlier, is Brock Lesnar has made his voice pretty damn clear. This article says, following the news of McMahon's retirement, wrestler Brock Lesnar reportedly walked off the Friday Night SmackDown set just hours before it was scheduled to go live on Fox. Lesnar, who is currently slated to headline this month's SummerSlam, is arguably the WWE's biggest draw. So now, and there was something I saw.
He's not quitting. He's just mad that Vince didn't tell him himself, I'm guessing.
I not knowing, I have not really followed Lesnar's career, so I really don't know. I mean, I followed a little bit more of Lesnar's career in the Octagon than I ever did in the wrestling ring, but I don't know. But I mean, there was already an article that I didn't get a chance to look at it before we went live about how they're already looking at stars that are going to replace Lesnar. So, I mean, and that's the thing with this being way more entertainment than it is a real sport. It's going to be really easy to find another personality to put in there.
They just signed that Logan Paul guy.
Well,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Hang on. There's one thing y'all are forgetting here. Everything in wrestling is a work. So I'm not saying the story's not real. I think it probably is because Brock Lesnar is one of the few that I do keep up with. He's not a regular guy.
He's isn't he, Tex? He really thinks he'll work behind the scenes. I don't think he even wanted people to know he stormed off and left. It was leaked out.
No, the one thing about Brock is money. Money. He'll go with anything. He is and that's why Brock is probably my favorite wrestler today. Because it's a wrestling business. He's here to make money. He's not here for the love of the game. Or, that doesn't work for my character. If you bring the money, he's going to do it. So do I think he legitimately walked off? Probably. Which is problematic because his face is on the poster from SummerSlam this year. So,
and tonight, by the way, it was a big deal that he was coming back to SmackDown tonight. I mean, he was the focus of the show tonight.
I mean, do I think he probably walked off? Yes. But there's always that sliver of a chance that this is a worked angle and Roman Reigns will be standing in the ring going, who's my opponent? Who's my opponent? And then they hit Brock Lesnar's music and he storms out to the ring. Now, one thing I will say about this as far as Brock to Vince, there's no new modern big stars. Roman Reigns is the only one that's on a John Cena or a Stone Cold or a Taker level. That's why he pays Brock Lesnar so much that he does. So
Yeah.
I could see Brock taking a stand because, hey, if Vince is here, I'm not going to get this again. So I'm going to stand with Vince and make a stand. And I mean, I can't fault him for it. I like I said,
You think he'd really turn
call
down
me
the
a bitch.
money to stay with the company just because his ego is hurt? That I don't know. I have a hard time with that.
The thing with pro wrestling is you're dealing with a company full of egomaniacs and narcissists, is what these kinds of people are. You
Yeah,
don't
that's
survive in that environment if you're not that. If you're not a shark who wants to be number one, you're out of the company in 6 months. You know,
Yeah.
so there's a lot to
Those
unpack
are
with
very
this.
good
And,
points.
I mean, one of the few that, like I said,
Real quick, Sleppy's in the chat saying that Brock did show up on SmackDown.
So he just
Oh, he
stormed
did?
off. He just stormed off before filming started.
Yeah, it wasn't in the middle of the show.
And he came
And
back.
Yeah, so
Okay, cool.
I did notice that as I was reading it. It said he stormed off set beforehand. I was like, then why would you say he stormed off set? Just say he stormed off. But
no, I didn't know he
Sleppy's
came
saying
back.
that Brock did show up on SmackDown tonight.
Yeah, he
Oh,
just
good.
got mad
So
and
he'll be
probably
there for some-
called Vince and said, "What the fuck?" And then he came back to show up. I don't know. I think they're more money driven and, like you said, ego. So, I don't know. I guess a lot of it doesn't matter, but
I don't watch much modern wrestling. I mean, I've made it. I used to talk more wrestling on the YouTube things, but it stopped being fun because I wasn't watching the product regularly.
mm-hmm.
And when I was talking about it, I was shitting on most of it because most of it sucks. It's like I said, wrestling's not going to die. I think WWE, I've been saying for years, I think WWE gets sold to NBC or Disney or somebody
aren't they
else.
already on the Peacock network for streaming? Like, what if they just made it like, official?
That's what I'm saying.
You get it all.
With Nick Khan, the guy that's half CEO now, he's been in charge for a while. They've been making they're making more money now than they've ever made in history. So
even with low ratings and really low like ads and sponsorship.
Well, they're getting millions and millions of dollars from going over to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, don't get me started on that shit. Yeah, in India as well, I think.
Like I said, this is a wrestling business. This is not what you like. It's what makes the most money. So they're profitable. I mean, look at I don't know what the stock price is right now, but I'm sure it's not too.
I don't know.
So, I mean, I think with Vince stepping out of the way, I think they get sold. And it becomes like a thing with UFC where somebody else owns it, but Dana White's still in front of the camera. You'll still see a Triple H or a McMahon in front of the camera just to keep the face.
Oh, sure.
But I think somebody buys it. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, that's a very good prediction. I agree with that.
Well, there's going to be a whole lot of talk about this come Sunday over on Derail because that's where most of the communities are going to get together and really pick this thing apart.
I can go ahead and plug the Derailed Patreon because Casey is Raw, the Rose, and Jim Thompson are tonight supposed to be filming something talking about this for the Derailed Patreon. So make sure you're subscribed to that over there to get that video whenever it comes out within a few days or so. I don't know when it'll drop, but I got word that they were going to do that this evening as well. So we're covering it on both sides.
Yeah. So, go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. Vince is out. The guy who's been running basically the entire sport of wrestling for 40 years now, roughly, is stepping away, and because of scandal, maybe because he just decided he was too old to deal with the shit anymore. I don't know. Whatever his reasons may have been, he has stepped aside, and there is new blood running the sport of wrestling nowadays. So go in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think about Vince McMahon retiring at the age of 77. Lady Cora, what's the next topic we'll be talking about tonight?
Well, Gremlins director Joe Dante is not mincing words when it comes to what he sees as similarities between his franchise's cuddly Gizmo and the Baby Yoda character that's at the heart of Disney Plus's series, The Mandalorian. Dante told the San Francisco Chronicle during a recent interview, quote, "I think the longevity of the films is really key to this one character, Gizmo, who is essentially like a baby, which brings me, of course, to the subject of Baby Yoda, who is completely stolen and is just out and out copied. Shamelessly, I would think, end quote. Frank, what do you think of Dante's comments? Wow.
Does this guy not have a fucking calendar? I mean, because it's like I don't know at what point in your life you learn to read a calendar and compare what year comes before what, but I'm pretty damn sure. Now I know that Yoda was not in Star Wars in 1977. I know his first appearance is Empire, but still, that's a couple of years before Gremlins. So, and to top it all, and let's be honest here, they were both designed by the same creative crew. It's not unheard of that you like when you're creating a creature for a film, whether it's a monster or something a little more innocent and friendly like Yoda and Gizmo, that some of the designs that you end up not going with are used in other productions. Most famously, in J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek film, the monster that Kirk fights in that ice planet when he finds Spock, the older version of Spock, was actually one of the designs that was turned down for Super 8, which is another J.J. Abrams film. He liked that design and decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and use this design for this little creature that Kirk is going to have to fight for a minute in this movie. So it's not like anybody... I mean, look, do they look similar? Of course they look similar. They were all designed by the same fucking people. My question is why are... not older, but like these generational directors like Dante. We've heard Scorsese bitching about Marvel. We've heard Cameron bitching about people binge watching shows and complaining about 3 or 4 or 5 hour long movies. Why are these guys bitching? Just make your fucking product.
The same guy who made Titanic?
Yeah, it's like I can't.
Which was way too long to begin with.
It's I can't understand why you bitch. I mean, honestly, does it matter if the chick from any Picasso painting is just a rearranged, fucked up puzzle version of the Mona Lisa? 2 different artists, sure, but they both painted women. Who cares how they painted them? Who cares if they're designed roughly in the same... Who cares? It's art, it's subjective. Believe it or not, there are probably a handful of people in the world that don't like the Gremlin movies. They're wrong, but I mean...
I was going to say, how dare they?
They're wrong.
I don't.
But, I mean, I don't understand why these people bitch about this. I mean, they were created by the same group of creators, of talented, artistic people. Of course they're going to look a little bit alike. And do you really want... Like, I'll put the picture up here again real quick so we can look at some things. I mean, yeah, okay, the ears, kind of close. The eyes, kind of close. Obviously,
they're completely different characters. I mean,
obviously the amount of hair is a bit different, but I mean, they're close.
Backstories and their personalities and the whole concepts, they're very different.
Yeah, they're
even the names Gizmo and Grogu. I mean, yes, different spelling, different letters, but it's not far off. I can see where he would grab, but I agree with everything.
But you see, I can't. Again, does he know how to read a calendar? Yoda actually came first. It's like, so...
Oh, no, I'm not saying he's wrong, but...
Yeah, so I don't get it. I don't understand why. And then to top it off, honestly, you know what I think part of this is? I think part of this is publicity.
Is he trying to get attention to the Gremlins for some reason?
No. Gizmo is going to be in an HBO Max animated series called Gremlins, the Secret of the Mogwai.
Him. This is all a setup.
And Dante is serving as a consultant on the series. So I think what it is he's just trying to get some fucking press. And I think this is a really... Look, Joe Dante is a legendary director. This guy's put out... In an era in the 80s and 90s when movies were just damn good, early 90s, late 90s, they kind of went off the rails. But in the 80s and 90s, when this guy was in his directorial prime, he was making some of the biggest movies in Hollywood. He was James Cameron. He was Scorsese in that kind of film. But, I mean, honestly, what has Dante done in the last 15 years? I mean, he's done some smaller things. He's done some television stuff. He's done smaller movies. But he hasn't done anything nearly the level of like a Gremlins or, God, what is some of the shit that he's done? I'm drawing a blank now off the top of my head. But,
I don't know.
But yeah, honestly, I think it's a little bit of Cameron syndrome, if it's not just blatantly trying to get attention for this Gizmo TV show that's coming out. But I just think that these guys they miss the attention. He realizes that he's not like I think Cameron does when he's been bitching about a couple things over the course of last year. It's like he just hasn't done a lot of work lately, and he wants to remind people that at one point he was one of the hottest directors in Hollywood. But it's like, dude, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, talk about it.
That was 20 years ago. What have you done for me lately? It's like I loved your movie in 1984, when the little gremlin, the dumbasses fed him after midnight and got him all wet and water and fucking all chaos ensued and the whole town got burned up and shit like that. I was like, that was great in 1984, but this is 2022, pal. What have you done for me lately? It just seems like a sad thing to complain about. It's more of an attention grab than anything else. I don't know, Tex, what do you think?
I love Gremlins. I mean, like one of my first toys, like that I loved, was a Mogwai. Or I can't even say the word. You know what I'm talking about. The Gremlin, the main one.
Yeah.
Was one of those.
Spike.
Mogwai.
Was it Spike?
Whatever.
Stripe.
Anyway,
for the name.
I can't remember. Anyways, I grew up with the film as everybody from a certain age did. I still visit it every Christmas. I can't help it. I smelled a pro wrestling angle from just trying to create some people who talk about my thing again. And, I didn't know there was an animated show featuring Gremlins coming up, so I'll have to check that out. But it's a bitch for bitching's sake. Obviously, there's similarities, but like you said, Yoda came first, and Baby Yoda is the basis for old Yoda, so what are you going to do? It's just one of those things. Nobody's talked about me in a while, and let's stir up some attention. To be real honest, I haven't heard a lot of people even covering this article or this news story, so I don't really know how well it worked for him, even though we're talking about it now. We're movie nerds. We can't help ourselves. So, I mean, I don't see anything coming from this. It's a way to get cheap heat. So, I love your film, Joe Dante.
I like it.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
Well, yeah. Cora, what do you think about Joe Dante basically just being a big bitch?
I think, like you said, if he's using this as a chance, it just feels very childish. It's like, then just say, go out and talk, go on some podcasts, write something and get it in Variety or whatever, talking about how excited you are about Gremlins, and maybe do a tie-in saying, but show praise or appreciation for the project, not dig it down, because now all he's gonna do is piss off Star Wars fans, and they may not watch his shit because of what he's saying. But that's my thought.
Yeah, I don't understand this guy at all. Let me look at some of the movies. I skipped right past it. Hold on a second. So he did Hollywood Boulevard back in '76, which wasn't terrible. He did Piranha. He did The Howling back in '81. Not a bad werewolf movie.
Oh.
He was one of the directors of Twilight Zone, the movie. He did the It's a Good Life segment. That movie has its own story for those of you who don't know.
That thing's cursed.
He did Gremlins, Explorers, which is a really fun. It was just a really fun movie when I was a kid. That's got a very young Ethan Hawke in it, by the way. For those of you who are big Ethan Hawke fans, he did Inner Space, which is a really really funny movie.
I just watched him in The Black Phone. That makes me think of it.
Yeah, it's Inner Space is really funny. We did The Burbs, a Tom Hanks movie, one of the ones that helped him break out back in the late '80s. Gremlins 2, obviously. Small Soldiers, which was a funny movie. Bury the X in 2014. They did a bunch of shorts. He's done a bunch of television too. I mean, Police Squad back in the 80s, some Twilight Zone stuff. Let's see, Masters of Horror, CSI New York, Hawaii Five-0, Legends of Tomorrow, and MacGyver is the most recent stuff he's done. And then some other oddball shit, shorts and things like that. I mean, seriously, it's like lately. I mean, 2014, and before that 2009, and before that 2003, and then you go back to the 90s. So in the last 22 years, he's done like 3 things. He was a producer on a couple of things. He was a producer on The Phantom, which is a kind of fun movie. Let's see, some short films that I've never heard of, so I'm not going to bother naming them. The TV stuff, 2016. Yeah, even in the 2000s, he hasn't done a whole lot of TV stuff either, so... And he's smaller stuff, other credits and things that I've never heard of, so they're probably not worth mentioning. But I don't know. What were you going to ask, Tex?
I said, what's Joe Dante's age? How old is he? Right?
He is 75.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he kind of an old man bitching about whatever. I could see it. Okay, that makes a little more sense to me.
Yeah, again, it's he was one of the directors of that time back in the 80s. It's like Inner Space, like I said, is a great movie. Explorers is a fantastic film. It's a fun little YA thing of these kids who build their own spacecraft and go into space, which is hilarious.
I didn't realize he did The Howling. That's in my top 3.
It had a young River
top
Phoenix
3
in too, by the way.
Oh, like that one, and probably American Werewolf in London are 1 and 2, and they jump they go back and forth depending on the day. I didn't realize he did that. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So again, really, really hot for a time in the '80s and '90s. But once the turn of the millennium hit, he just hasn't really been. He hasn't been as hot as he once was. So maybe this is just a little bit.
Maybe he was an organic farmer for a number of years, and he decided to get back into Hollywood.
Maybe. I mean, he's done stuff. I mean, different things over the years, but nothing big. So I don't know. I mean, an episode of CSI New York, while not a small thing, they never called me to direct a fucking episode of any television show. But I mean, CSI New York was a big show for a long time, so it's not nothing. But I mean, it's not Gremlins, it's not The Howling, it's not one of these other movies. So I don't know. What I think this is mostly is he's trying to feed off a little bit of that Baby Yoda fame, that Grogu fame, because he's got the show coming out that he's a consultant on. And maybe he gets, and I say it all the time, in Hollywood, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And maybe he negotiated that if we get so many views or so many hours watched since it's on a streamer, that you'll get so much money. And he's trying to beef up the numbers so he gets a bigger paycheck. I mean, if that's the case, I don't knock the guy for grinding and doing what he's got to do to make his money. But
could he do it in a way that's like more respectful?
Yeah, go out there and tell me about how good your show is and why I should watch it. Don't go out there and be like, fuck Baby Yoda, he's just a ripoff of Gizmo, even though Yoda came like 7 years before Gizmo. Don't look at a calendar, just take my word for it. It's like, come on.
Hey, why not a crossover? We have Baby Yoda encounter Gremlins, and they have some sort of fairy tale. We'll just throw it all on the same pot.
Look, Baby Yoda's going to have a lightsaber. Fuck Gizmo. It's like Baby Yoda's got the Force and a light. It's probably gonna be a lightsaber like this big, but he's gonna be throwing around a lightsaber. He's gonna be Force choking Gizmo. I don't give a damn. I'm taking Baby Yoda. I'm taking Grogu all day, all day.
Make it. Well, let's get Hollywood on the phone and tell them to get the script done.
Oh, and don't forget the horror comedy Winnie the Pooh. He should be there too.
Bring it. Put Baby Yoda in there with a lightsaber. Let him whack down Winnie the Pooh and Piglet when they're murdering the bitch in the hot tub. I'm good with that.
Please. He can be the Baby Yoda can be the Dr. Loomis to Winnie the Pooh's Michael Myers.
We could
just have him
just
tracking him the whole movie.
Using the Force to make him go after certain people. He's going to be like, go kill this guy.
That would be incredible. That would be incredible. That, and then you can have the Gremlins show up at the end, and they're the real actual heroes because Baby Yoda's, like you said, manipulating Winnie the Pooh. And it's just throw all the creatures in there. Let's do this thing. I'll go see it in theaters. You'll get my money. Let's do it.
Love it.
Bring it on. If there's to be any crossover, it needs to look like that. But, go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think about Joe Dante bitching about how Grogu is a blatant ripoff of a character that came 4 years after him. So, again, calendars, people. We know how they work. That's one of the first things you learn to read when you're like 4 is a calendar. Learn how to tell time, learn your ABCs, learn how to read a fucking calendar so you know what day of the week it is.
And memory recall, because even if you can't follow a calendar, you can remember maybe what order things happen in.
And look, you can't be stupid and reach the level of director that Dante has. It's like he knows that fans these days are real fucking quick on details. It's not like in the 80s where we didn't have access to like IMDb, to the internet and Wikipedia, or all these different places you could go to get information about a movie or have just this massive movie knowledge. It was harder to find back in 1984. But nowadays it's like, I mean, hell, I'm a moron. I've barely got 2 brain cells to rub together some days, and I could rattle off so many like obscure movie facts that would just be like, you'd be like, I have no fucking clue how that's important to anything outside of anything, but I mean that's what a lot of film fans are like these days. They as soon as they hear this, they're like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, do you know the years?
Is there a culture of negativity in Hollywood right now, or is he just really off base here?
Well, for one, he's really off base. Again, I think ultimately what this is him trying to get attention for that animated thing coming out. And on top of that, he's looking at it
on other projects like this. I mean, you mentioned James Caan. I mean, what? I mean, so it's a culture thing. So maybe he's just on point.
Look, here's the thing about some artists. Some artists are assholes. It's like they think they're the only ones that understand art. But the reality is, film is a form of art, and art is subjective. I can look at a painting and not fucking get it, but I have friends who are artists who look at that painting and they're blown away. They're emotional at how the artist did this with that brush stroke, or mixed those two colors that don't usually work together and made this great thing. And I'm just like, it's fucking paint on a canvas. I don't get it. I mean, I get that other people understand it and they feel passionate about it, and I dig that. But it's like, these are people, especially guys like Scorsese, bitching about the Marvel movies. I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, dude, you've made 3 movies with stories that are this rich. The rest of it is all just gangster movies where guys are getting shot in the head. That's all it is. It's a horror movie without being a horror movie. It's a lot of weird kills, but it's just kind of set against a different backdrop. It's like, yeah, it's great to watch. It's great to watch The Departed, but it's like every 3 minutes somebody's getting shot in the temple in that movie, and I'm like, can you concentrate on some story? Because you have Nicholson and all these great actors in there, and it's just like it's like around every corner someone's getting one between the eyes, and I'm like, I get it, but can you give me depth?
And a movie like that doesn't create a fandom the way that Marvel has.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I mean, look, Scorsese's made great movies, but I was like, I don't understand why I understand those aren't your kind of movies, and that's fine. There's a lot. I mean, me and Cora have talked about movies like Porky's and things like that. They aren't her kind of movies. I get it. That's fine. That kind of stuff doesn't hit everybody the way it hits me. I enjoy those movies. Think they're funnier than hell. Some people are like, I don't really like that kind of gross humor. I get it, but it's like I don't understand why you would go, especially having the clout that you have in that industry, why you would bother wasting your time in an interview saying, oh yeah, these fucking Marvel movies, Iron Man. You think
he's going to alienate the Marvel fans?
I don't think there's a lot of crossover from his fans to Marvel fans.
Okay.
I mean, other than me, I mean, I like Scorsese films as much as I like Marvel films, but I just don't understand why you would bitch about it. I mean, if you're like a Paul Thomas Anderson kind of guy who makes very cerebral films and you're not making Marvel kind of stuff, it's like, at least somebody like Paul Thomas Anderson will be like, whatever. Those movies are what they are. People like them. They make money. Good for him. And it's like, that's fine. I accept you saying something like that. But to spend your time in front of a reporter saying Marvel's shit, I don't understand those movies. They're dumb. They're for dumb people and blah blah blah. It's like, one of those movies.
That's how you get canceled these days with social media and retweets.
No, you only get canceled under certain circumstances. You
don't think?
Well, it honestly depends on your stature. Like I said, Scorsese's been in control of Hollywood for 40 or 50 years. I mean, that guy's made some of the biggest movies in Hollywood, some of the most well-renowned, critically received stuff. So he's going to get a little bit of a pass for criticizing anybody else. Now, he's not saying anything racist or otherwise obtuse and stupid.
Yeah.
So him commenting on the art itself
the wrong word.
Yeah, so him commenting on the art itself is probably acceptable. It's just what he says is stupid and short-sighted, I think. But, I know. That's just me. But you guys go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think of, Grogu being a ripoff of Gizmo, which I don't care. I don't care. I love them both. I mean, who came first?
Maybe they're related.
Who came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't care, as long as I have them both.
That's it.
But
wait till the crossover in 2024.
Well, yeah, there have been some fan theories out there about like connections between Gremlins and whatever, because they've never really officially identified what Yoda is, what that race of being is. I think maybe they have in some of the expanded universe stuff, but the films and all the mainstream stuff, they've never really identified what species he is. As a matter of fact,
there's
Yoda and only one other character, before Grogu anyway, only one other character of his species was ever discussed in the expanded universe stuff. There was a female version of whatever Yoda is. It was only in like one of the books, but you have to be a really hardcore Star Wars fan.
So like the trees in Lord of the Rings.
Where's the girl yet?
I don't remember. One of the books. I don't remember reading the book. I only read a couple of the books. But if like it's what's funny is like if you pull up Yoda on Wikipedia, there's like like 2 sentences where it mentions that she exists or was mentioned, and that's it. It doesn't even talk about her in that. It's like her appearance in the universe was so small and minute that it didn't really matter. But I don't know. Maybe they'll go into it a little bit more in Mandalorian season 3, because I mean we still have Grogu. We still have to figure him out. There's still a lot of questions, so. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But go in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think about Joe Dante being a dickhead. Anyway, Lady Cora, what's the? I mean, we've only really got one more topic left. I mean, let's go ahead and go into it now.
Well, it's going on as we speak. Comic-Con. So after being canceled in 2020 and being limited to mostly online offerings last year due to COVID, 2022 marks the return of Comic-Con in person at the San Diego Convention Center. There's already some big things coming out of the convention this year, as a trailer for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves was released online this morning, with some other bug news possibly on the horizon, as it is rumored that big news, not bug news, sorry.
I say she read my typo. Good job, Cora.
That Henry Cavill will be making his return to Hall C to announce his return to Superman. Frank, what do you think we can expect from Comic-Con this year?
It's gonna be a lot of... Look, they always say every year who wins Comic-Con. I think this year it's probably going to be DC. For a couple of reasons. Number one, I think Marvel is... While they're going to have some big announcements, we'll go into a couple of them here in just a second, because Tex sent me something on Twitter that we're going to talk about. But with D23 coming up, I think Marvel's going to save its big bombs for D23 coming up here in a few weeks. So they're going to release some stuff. But DC, they've got to get back on the schneid. So what else do you do except Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson walking out on stage with probably a new fresh look at Black Adam, and he'll beef up a little bit. He'll do what Dwayne Johnson does to get the crowd going wild, because that's what he does. I mean, wrestling background, just being a big personality anyway, that's what he does. And he's going to wrap up with saying something like, "Hey, do you want to see some of my co-stars?" And he'll bring out like Pierce Bronson, and Pierce Bronson will come out there and glad hand people and stand there and wave. And then he'll probably name off one or two others, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, there's one more." And then he's going to be like, "Here's my boy Henry Cavill." And Henry Cavill's going to come out there, hopefully in full Superman suit.
That'd be great.
I would love to see him like fly in from the rafters, just kind of float down like he would.
Where he made the joke or some comment about maybe Superman will be friends, maybe we won't. It was very open-ended.
I think that's why he said that, because I think there's a big reveal. Because they were talking about it in the last week or so. They were like, the only way that DC is going to win Comic-Con this year is if they roll Henry Cavill out there and say that is if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson brings out Henry Cavill and say Superman is going to be in Black Adam. And I think that's what they're going to do. They've got to start getting riding the ship a little bit, and with Zaslav in charge of everything that's going on at Warner Brothers now, with all that whole thing, and why am I drawing a blank on the Oriental guy's name that's running all this stuff now? I don't know. But with him in charge of everything at Warner specifically, and Zaslav running things from on high, from Discovery, who just bought Warner Brothers and all their IPs, I think they're in a good spot. I think this is a good time to start riding the ship. You're going to win Comic-Con. Marvel's going to let you have it, because Marvel's like, dude, we got our own thing. We have our every other year thing. Marvel's going to go drop a couple of bombs in a couple weeks at D23. This year, I mean, what could they... Well... Let's break down a little bit of what's already happened. I mean, yeah, the Dungeons & Dragons trailer, Honor Among Thieves, came out. That trailer is available online. You guys can go check it out. It's actually a really good trailer. I've watched it a couple times since it came out, and while I talk a lot about video game movies not quite hitting the mark, this one actually looks pretty promising. But then again, I thought that about the last Assassin's Creed movie. I thought that about the World of Warcraft movie. I've thought that about a couple of video game movies that have come out recently, and they've kind of missed the mark. But I mean, it looks really good. And it's got some star power behind it. I mean, Sophia Lillis, the girl from It, that played the younger version of, what's her name? Yeah, she's in it. Michelle Rodriguez is in it. Hugh Grant's in it. Hugh Grant looks weird. I saw him in the trailer.
Michelle Rodriguez from the Fast and Furious movies?
Yes, she's in it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I honestly, as much as I love Michelle Rodriguez, I did not really dig her in the trailers. I hate to say it like this, but it's the only thing that popped into my mind. She looks a little too butch. I don't want to say it like that, because I know it sounds like I'm being homophobic or just stupid, but I mean, she looks a little too manly.
I mean,
for
the
me.
character she's playing just comes off too strong, maybe.
I don't know. I said, it's just a trailer, so I don't want to hold too much. I don't want to put tut much on it, because like I said, there's been plenty of shitty trailers to really, really great movies, and plenty of great trailers to shitty movies. So I don't want to put my entire idea of what this movie is going to be on the first trailer. I want to watch the movie, but it didn't do it for me, is all I'm saying. But let's see. Thursday they also had this really interesting panel that I would love to have been there for, called 1982: The Greatest Geek Year Ever. It talks about some of the great things that happened in the pre-internet era. Especially some of the movies like Tron, which is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Oh,
Star Trek II:
love
The
it.
Wrath of Khan, E.T., The Thing, one of the
Fantastic.
great horror movies that's ever been made. Conan the Barbarian, the movie that really put Arnold Schwarzenegger on the map. That would have been interesting to see. Now, as far as today,
By the way, that movie has one of the best movie soundtracks or musical scores.
Which
it is
one?
way underappreciated.
which one?
Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, okay. I haven't even seen the movie in so long. I don't know, but and then of course today, the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power had Hall H
TV
all to
show
itself.
one for Amazon.
That's the
Oh.
TV show that's going to be on
I
Amazon.
Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it.
That looks awful.
I've seen some. Look, I am not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan. I think the first movie was like an hour and a half too long. I thought the second and third movies got better. I liked the last one, Return of the King. It wasn't bad. I wasn't a big fan of the Hobbit films. I just wasn't. But the more visuals I see from this show, the more interested I get. Now, I'm not going to go get Amazon Plus or not, Apple Plus. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go get Apple Plus.
If anybody else is going to watch it, I'll review it with you because I'm watching it.
Yeah, I've got way too many streaming services. It is. Me and Jennifer were talking about this earlier. It's like there's other streaming services I'd like to see some of their product, but I'm like, I just don't want to sign up for like a 7th, 8th, or 9th streaming service. It's getting to be a bit too much. But I am interested in seeing that, so I may have to figure out a way to at least watch the first episode through a friend or
Frank,
something.
there's actually a way to do it because I'm a Prime person. I can do a party where we watch it at the same time, and I just give you a link, and it's all legit.
Okay.
Watch
I
party.
don't know. I might do that. Check out the first episode. I don't know. But also today was the Walking Dead panel. And it says here in this article that I got from Joe Blow.
Isn't that show ending?
Yes, it is. I said it's hard to believe that way
show.
back. Yeah, I said it's hard to believe, but way back in 2010, when The Walking Dead was just getting started on AMC, it was considered a big gamble. Now it ranks as one of the most successful shows of all times. Go figure. The Walking Dead panels are always a pretty big deal at Hall H. For those of you who don't know, who've never been to Comic-Con or don't know about it, Hall H is the Super Bowl for Comic-Con. I mean, it's like there's lots of different rooms where things are happening, but Hall H is only where the biggest shit happens. So this is definitely. They said this is a victory lap for the franchise as I'm about to go into the last 8 episodes of the series before transitioning into more spin-offs. Yeah, there's so many spin-offs. It's not like the world of Walking Dead is going away, but
Here's the problem with Walking Dead. They spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it all these years ago, but when they killed Rick off, they promised
I've heard
3.
it isn't dead though. Jeremy's not here.
Well,
but
he's not dead.
Rick's gonna come back.
He's not dead because if you watch, they save him and take him to some other community. And they flat out said years ago they were going to make 3 Rick Grimes focus solo TV movies or whatever they called it. At one point it was going to be in theaters, but who knows? And they've done nothing with them. Every 5 to 6 months you get an article of, the Rick Grimes movies are still coming when
Maybe that's an actor
Walking
issue.
Dead.
Maybe the actor doesn't want to do it. They're considering recasting or something.
Well, see, that's the thing. During all the COVID lockdowns, they blamed that. They said, "Oh, well, we were going to start shooting, but due to lockdowns, because Andrew Lincoln is from the UK or England, or I forget where he's from, but he's British." They said we couldn't film because of that. But Andrew Lincoln had 0 problems flying into Canada to film a movie at the same time, but they couldn't do The Walking Dead. So it doesn't really, that boat's got a few holes.
Somebody's not saying something.
Walking Dead, once they killed off most of the main cast because they just wanted to leave because the show was going nowhere, now you've got a list of backup characters with a few stars like Negan and Carol and Daryl and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been The Walking Dead has been The Walking Dead for the last few years. I haven't even watched it weekly probably since the season that Rick did. So
I watched the season where they met up with the farmer guy, and then they and his daughters, and they ended up in the prison. And after that I stopped watching.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it used to be. Walking Dead used to be like a religious experience. Like you go to church on Sunday. Sunday night, I was watching Walking Dead. I loved it. I've read all the comics. I have all the comics. I'm looking at
the show lived up to the comics?
Oh God, no. No, they went so far left field. The comics are way better. Anybody who knows the comics knows that Carl has a very different ending than the comics to the show, but that was because Chandler Riggs wanted to go to college and do something, who knows what. But, the show, it's been on its heels for some time, so it didn't
Gotcha.
move on. It was great while it lasted.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of. I watched most of the first season of Walking Dead, and it kind
Do
of
you like
lost me. It was all right. It kind of lost me. For one, I really wanted the show to focus more on the what happened to cause this, the constant problems dealing with these Walking Dead, the Living Dead or whatever.
And you
Well,
should be
didn't
watching.
they do that with that
Fear
other
the
show?
Walking Dead.
It became a
Yeah,
little bit of
That's Fear the Walking.
it became a little bit of a
It was
soap opera to
called.
me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's Fear the Walking Dead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole Walking Dead franchise, it was huge for 6 or 7 years, and then when it fell off quick because you had all of the main cast. Like I said, they wanted to go make money in movies or do this or do that or whatever.
Downton Abbey. That's
one
all
of
I'm
the-
going to say. Matthew. Fuck
What-
you.
What's that one Star Trek show that the black girl is the lead? It was on Paramount Plus.
I never saw that one. Enterprise?
Anyways, I can't remember which one it was.
Not Below Decks. What the hell is it?
No, it's not. I don't think it did very well, but one of the black women from Walking Dead left that show to go do Star Trek because she just wanted to do something else, and then that didn't pan out. Now her character's dead, and she can't come back to Walking Dead because she's already a walker. So bad trust, but it is what it is.
Plus
It had
the
its time.
TVA comes in and reverses time.
It's the MCU.
Yeah, well, Loki show.
Hey, look at the
Loki
MCU.
shows up.
You're only one piece of dialogue away from anything happening. Anybody coming back from the dead.
We found the cure, but there's only one dose. She got it.
Oh,
Well,
now-
there's been a lot like with Walking Dead that they promised a spin-off show with Daryl and Carol. Like that was the whole point of the show. Then like 2 weeks later, Carol's not going to do the show anymore, so now it's just Daryl. So I mean, they've got few fledgling stars. Negan went from the ultimate villain to kind of an anti-hero. He's still a bad guy, but he's on the right side. And that gimmick wore off pretty quickly on the show. I mean, I wish
Is
it
it
was
savable
what
or
it
is
used
it just dead, pretty much?
to bury it
This last
and
season.
move on. It needs to stop. Like now they're so far into it, there's no saving it. The cancer spread too far, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So did they earn their spot at Comic-Con, Frank? Or, I mean, is it just like because it's their last season they got it?
Well, you don't earn your spot. You just register for it. You pay for it. So anybody with
Also, they didn't
look,
even,
if
it's not a
if-
caliber popularity thing. They got that room, that time spot, because they paid for it.
Well, I mean, they're big. I mean, I don't know exactly how they determine who gets Hall H or who gets what schedule, but I mean, they deal with the people who organize it all and they work this stuff out. But look, it's a big enough IP to where Hall H makes sense to me. But and it's wrapping up. It's still tremendously popular even through the spin-offs and stuff. So, yeah, if you're going to give it a final bow before the main show goes off into the woods forever, then you may as well put them in Hall H and let them kind of enjoy it. It's like you said in the article, it's a victory lap. I mean, the show's been on for a long time. It's lasted a lot longer than most TV shows do these days. I mean, we don't live in those times where TV shows go for 10, 12, whatever seasons. Now it's like you get to like 5 or 6. And they're like, holy shit.
I would say 4. But yeah.
Like, well, Netflix is notorious for not letting their shit go past seasons 3 or 4. Because the problem with TV shows is they go longer, they get more expensive. Because they go longer because they get more popular, and the actors in it, they get more popular, and so they start costing more to bring them back to make 18, 20 episodes or whatever you're making in a season these days. So they get more and more
want to
expensive.
give the actors the contracts to keep them, per se.
Well,
and then the actors might move on to other projects.
It's money. I mean, once the profit margin starts to drop a little bit, and instead of making $5 million an episode, you're only making 1. You're just kind of like, okay, we're cutting it off now because the profit margin is not what it was.
Just sad.
But well, I mean, it's the business. I mean, like I said, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. That's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, tomorrow is when the biggest part of Comic-Con kicks off. Tomorrow it starts early California time, 10 a.m., which is early for the West Coast. The biggest day at Comic-Con kicks off with an exclusive Warner Brothers panel promoting Black Adam And Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Dwayne Johnson himself will be on hand to showcase Black Adam footage, while WB may also take the opportunity to show off some teasers from things like Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, The Flash, and Batgirl. Now, what Joe Blow predicts...
Oh, just real quick, does that mean Amber Heard's going to be there or in video? Because that would be bad right now for them.
Something tells me no.
Let's hope.
If she does show up, I hope she's wearing a diaper and doesn't shit on the stage.
If she does show up, I hope she gets hit by a bus. But let's see, they are predicting over on Joe Blow that the Shazam! Fury of the Gods trailer is going to get its first wide release. That makes sense to me. They think there's also a real possibility they're going to show the footage that was shown at Comic-Con from The Flash just a few months ago, which contains the reveal of Michael Keaton in full Batman mode. Then again, with all of the Ezra Miller controversy that we've talked about ad nauseum on this channel, The Flash may be a no-go, but they could still use the occasion to do a Keaton as Batman reveal, but they might show footage from him in the Batgirl film, which is a much less controversial production. That makes perfect sense to me. Also, at 11:30 tomorrow morning, they're going to have the House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel panel that is going to probably be releasing a lot of footage. Yeah, I'm not into the Sword and Shield stuff, generally speaking. A couple things I've liked, but for the most part, I'm not. Still to this day, have not watched a single episode of Game of Thrones. Don't really plan on it.
You're not missing much. They fuck it up. Dan and Dave, you fucked it up. Just have to say it.
Yeah, but I don't know. Any thoughts, Tex, on Warner Brothers, what they might do tomorrow?
Well, just for me personally, 3 words would solve a lot of my issues with Warner Brothers, and that's restore the Snyderverse. But I'm not going to go into that.
You mean you want the second and the third movie that you're never going to get?
Yes. I've got to tell you, there's some stuff with Snyder that's making that very impossible.
Yeah.
I know it's never going to happen. And I'll be an 80-year-old man in my nursing home saying, restore the Snyderverse. I'm going to be that.
Not that I don't love the thought of that, but Snyder's got himself in some shit. He's got himself in some Amber Heard level shit right now.
Yeah, I love Ben Affleck's Batman. I love the Dark Knight Returns 80s style Batman. And that's what Affleck is. That's what he's modeled after. That's I don't even need the Snyderverse. I love Henry Cavill's Superman, and I love Ben Affleck's Batman. It's my favorite Batman of all time. Beats them all out. If they were to come out and say, Henry Cavill's coming back, we're going to make Man of Steel 2 because that's the greatest Superman movie ever made, even over Christopher Reeve, and I'll fight you over that any day. If they were to come out and say, we're going to give Ben Affleck an 8-episode miniseries on HBO Max and tell the story that was going to be his movie, which was basically him versus Deathstroke in Arkham Asylum, and the rest of the villains are in it. It doesn't have to go any further. But if you just give me that one thing, Warner Brothers, I'm a lifelong fan. I've given you tons of money. Just give me that one 8-episode miniseries. I would be on board with all your Flash nonsense and everything else.
DC, though, they seem like movie only. Marvel seems like the one that doesn't mind the short series. I don't see.
No, they're doing series for Robert Pattinson's Batman. They're going to do a Selena Kyle Catwoman show.
Yeah.
They're going to do they're doing a show for Penguin, and they're doing a show for Arkham Asylum.
Yep.
That's just off of one movie.
Too much to ask then.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Give me 8 1-hour-long episodes of a Ben Affleck Batman. You can have him die in the end or whatever you want to do, but I just want that story. They were supposed to do a Deathstroke movie. I want to see this play out because it's that hardcore, brutal Batman. It's the Dark Knight Returns. It's probably the most beloved style of Batman of all time, at least top 3. That's all I want. I love Henry Cavill Superman. I want him back too, and not like it was in the first Shazam where you see him from the neck down. I want the whole thing.
Did you hear, though, that the reason why Superman has more interest now is because whoever took over for DC or Warner Brothers, he personally is a big Superman fan.
Well,
so that's kind of driving it, I guess.
They've got 5 different Superman right now. They have the the Superman and Lois show. They've got Supergirl in the Flash, and they did like a Mexican girl version instead of the blonde hair version. It's still the same character. Then they're doing a black version of Clark Kent Superman. they're doing a Val-Zod Superman, which is another black version from a different world. There's like 4 or 5 Supermen floating around, and everybody's clamoring for Henry Cavill's Superman. He does the role so well, and he's passionate about it.
He's kind of born for it. You agree, Tex? I mean, he
is Clark Kent.
Superman.
When you look at him, like go back and watch Man of Steel. Even when he's out of the cape and the suit, that feels like Clark Kent to me when he's wearing that Kansas City Royals T-shirt. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He's born with. You can't really,
He is Superman. There's nobody can replace him. The guy that's on Superman and Lois TV show, he does well, and I can't remember his name, but I like him as Superman.
Teeny bopper version guy?
No, he's a full-grown Superman. This is a newer show. This is it's on this. It's part of the Arrowverse. Well, it is, but it's not because it's kind of its own thing.
Yeah, they've got their multi-dimensional bullshit going on over there too, which is one of the reasons why I kind of stopped watching the Arrowverse.
Oh, I did too. It's on. I can't do. Once they ended Supernatural, I was done with CW. But no, I want more Henry Cavill as Superman just for his passion for the role. Yes. Oh, every interview you see him in, he is almost drooling at the mouth. He needs it. He wants it. And somebody who has that kind of passion for their work is going to do well. You just got to give him an opportunity.
Well,
that's all you got to do.
John Campea had brought up something a couple of days ago when he was talking, because it was just a rumor for most of the last several weeks that the idea of Cavill coming out at Comic-Con and saying, "Yeah, I'm back as Superman." It was just a rumor that would it seemed like fan service, like fans started kind of trying to will it into existence. But John Campea brought up this interesting point. His manager or agent, whoever represents his representation, is the same representation as Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually Dwayne The Rock Johnson's ex-wife. And manages his career and Henry Cavill. Yeah,
isn't that called $7 production or something like that?
So yeah, she represents both of them, and so he's like, look, if the three of them can get together and make this happen, they're gonna fucking do it. Because Cavill wants to come back. He's made no bones about the fact that he wants to come back to this role and do more. I mean, even with that, he wants to work with Zack Snyder again, which ain't going to happen now, for those of you who know that story. But he was like, you know what, I still want to come back. I'm not done with this character yet. I want to do it. And he knows the window is getting kind of small for him to do it. Because, look, eventually Hugh Jackman had to let Wolverine go. Because you get to an age where it's like, you can't constantly lift weights and eat nothing but chicken and rice 3 meals a day.
He's not supposed to age, but
ripped.
yet Hugh Jackman is aging.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, is you can't stop aging in real life, so you can't be 75 years old and flying around fighting Zod and shit all the time. So yeah, he knows that the window's getting shorter and shorter, but he still wants to go out there and bang out at least 2 or 3 more movies. And he wants to, and look, and he was a big part, he is probably the biggest part of everything that's happened in the DCEU so far. He wants to see it through to better pastures, which is where a lot of people think it's headed now that David Zaslav is running everything. So he wants to be a part of the growth of this to a better thing.
It all started with Man of Steel. Then it was Batman v Superman. And then Justice League was all about reviving Superman because why? He was their only hope. I mean, you had Batman and Wonder Woman and Flash and Aquaman and whatever. They're all there. But it was Superman. It was Clark Kent. The whole reason Darkseid was coming back to Earth was because why? Superman was dead.
Yeah.
He had no kryptonians. You're right. He is the figure point. He is the center, the soul of what the DCU was. And he only got to tell the beginning of his role, not what he becomes. So give him a chance. Let him finish it up. What's it going to hurt?
You know there's a script already written, Text. You know it's there
Oh,
somewhere.
1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
I
It wouldn't
guarantee.
even take much time.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine there's been a script written for another Superman, I almost said Spider-Man, for another Superman standalone movie for the last several years. It's just been a question of what direction is the DCEU going. There was the question of Warner Media being sold to Discovery. There was, and then even after the sale went through, I mean, David Zaslav went through, and they jokingly refer to it on the internet as the Axe of Zaslav. He just went through and just started chopping all kinds of fucking projects off. I mean, all these things, like, we talked about it several months ago, the Wonder Twins movie. Like literally, we talked about it on one show. We talked about it on one show, and literally 2 days later, news broke, said no. David Zaslav was like, that movie's not going to happen. Like they barely got that thing announced, and he was like, nope. He ended up killing.
Is this all money driven or what he wants?
It's not about what he wants. I think he's doing the right thing, because one of the things that Zaslav recognized when he took over Warner Media, and it's not just DC. It was kind of their whole plan for how they shelled out money for movies was kind of dumb anyway. Because one of the things that he said was that the Clint Eastwood movie Cry Macho, which didn't do very well in the box office, but it was a decent enough movie. But I mean, Zaslav said there's no way in hell I'd have signed off on that movie. The people at Warner Brothers thought that because they had done so much business with Eastwood over the last 200 years that he's been making movies, they felt obligated to him because of everything he had done in the past for the studio to go ahead and give him whatever millions of dollars. I mean, look, it's not like it cost $250 million to make that movie, but he was just like, I don't care. He's like, look, all due respect to him and everything he's done over the course of his career and everything he's done under the Warner Brothers flag, I'm not going to sign off for $50 million for a movie just because he's Clint Eastwood. It's still got to be a good story. It's still got to be something, because that movie lost money. I mean, it lost a good deal of money. And they knew it was going to lose money, but they were just like, we feel indebted to this guy for everything he's done for the company, so we're going to go ahead and give him $50 million that we know he's only going to be able to return $25 million of it. And Zaslav was like, no, that's not going to happen anymore. He's like, all respect to these people who have done this work to build this thing, not going to happen anymore. We can't move on to the future clinging on to 975-year-old Clint Eastwood, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. And
that's what he did. And half the Arrowverse stuff, he canceled 2 or 3 of those shows.
The only way to fix DC is to literally blow it all up and restructure. DC needs to restructure, or Warner Brothers needs to make DC its own little shelf in their empire, like Disney has done with Marvel, Star Wars, and everything else. Blow it all up, make it its own individual thing with under the umbrella, of course. What is they call their Marvel Studios or whatever? Yeah. They need a DC Studios or whatever it is. Blow it all up, fresh start. Everything that you saw last year, that's gone. We're going to have one Batman, one Superman, one Wonder Woman.
So just a whole new phase for all of the storylines, basically.
Well, for like I said, I'm not a Marvel guy, but one thing that I can, and I have to give credit to Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel, they make their characters recognizable from the comic book to the screen. If you look at Captain America on the movie, he looks just like he does in that comic book page. They don't get into this woke nonsense of, oh, well, our Commissioner Gordon's going to be Asian, so blah, blah, blah. We're just going to throw this in here, and if you call us out on it, it's a racist thing. No, it's not a racist thing if I want my character that I've been reading about in comic books for 30 years to look like he is on the screen, because it's recognizability. And this is why, this whole multiverse thing is great. It gives you plenty of plot on it. You can do whatever you want. But if my kid goes into Walmart to buy a Batman toy and Batman looks like he's never looked before, it confuses. It's too much. Make it recognizable.
It's not authentic.
It's not authentic. It's not a racist thing to say, I want this character to be black and that one to be white. If you want a black character in your film, create one and put them in that film, and the people will love them. Just for an example, look, I believe it's called the Rippaverse. It's a new line of comics that is a black-based comic book line, and everybody's eating it up because it's not this woke politics nonsense, and you can recognize somebody. So let's simplify this down. Let's not have 5 Superman projects floating out there, which 3 of them probably will never get made. And, hell, they announced a Nightwing movie like 4 years ago that's never going to happen. So let's simplify it down. Let's restart and just go make money. It's not that hard. We don't need 5 versions of everybody. It doesn't work for DC. And I think Marvel's going to end up in the same place, too.
That's my problem with DC is I think they're diluting their products so bad. They're talking about having 3 or 4 Jokers going at one time. Now they want to do a sequel to the Joker film that came out a couple years ago.
It's going to be a musical, dude.
I guess they're already working on that shit.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 Batman. I'm just like, come on, what are you doing? It's like you haven't gotten one universe of characters right. Now you want to have 3 or 4 universes of characters?
Do they have the money for all of this? To throw at all of this at once?
Well, considering that Zaslav has cut like 90% of their fucking production budget with all this shit that he cut, yeah. Money's not the problem with Warner and Discovery. It's investing, because look, when they make movies, they're investing into a product that's going to make them money. Like when Marvel spends $250 million making an Avengers movie, they anticipate making $1 billion for that film and profiting a certain amount. So that's what they're going to look at. But I mean, what he's doing is he's like, why are we throwing money, whether it's a little bit of money or a lot of money, at these things that aren't hitting a certain profitability for us and not pushing our universe forward creatively? That's one of the things that I think he's saying, and that's where I agree with him. It's like, why have 25 CW Arrowverse shows when 3 of them aren't really good? Like the Legends of Tomorrow, it's like I watched the first season of that and I was done. I couldn't get into it. It's like Batgirl. I really wanted to like Batgirl, but I was like, that show's just not really. It looked like something straight out of the night. It looked like Goosebumps. That's what it looked like to me. I didn't like it at all.
You talked about the Batgirl movie that's coming out, right? You've got Michael Keaton Batman, obviously from his own world. You have Commissioner Gordon from the Snyderverse, who is the father of this Mexican Batgirl. And I mean, we've got so many timelines crossing over. It's like in that Loki show. We don't really know what's going on. You're just picking and choosing what you want to throw in. And I don't think anybody's really happy.
I think they might be taking a page out of what Fox was doing with the X-Men for so long. They're like, continuity, schmontinuity. We're just going to put a lot of cool stuff that people are going to love in there. Nobody's going to notice that all these things just don't fucking add up.
Fans want some continuity of plots and interweaving of, where you have cameos. There needs to be some type of flow to follow, even if you have variances.
But here's the problem, though. All of this multiverse timeline revolves around the Flash. We all know the saga that did. So the only way you can get Michael Keaton Batman, Snyderverse Gordon, and even Ben Affleck in the Flash movie is through the Flash film taking place. None of this works if the Flash. They have to have the Flashpoint paradox event happen, which is what causes all this timeline, whatever stuff.
Can they redo the Flash, Frank? Somebody else, or is it just not possible?
It's possible to do whatever the hell they want.
Well, it's real easy. They could completely leave the Flash movie as it is and bring in a new actor and have the Flash run back to his own Earth through the time vortex, whatever you want to call it.
Tex.
And he changes, like he runs through and he's like, oh, what's going on? And then he morphs into a completely different person. Because in this world, his parents are actually this person and that person. It's no longer Ezra Miller, and we can move on from that nonsense. One line of dialogue or one scene, I can fix everything.
That's right. Frank says all the time.
One of the fun things about Flashpoint coming up is, it's surrounding all the Ezra Miller drama, is that Flashpoint is really the biggest thing to happen in the DC comic world.
100%, yeah.
So I mean, because that changes everything.
Yeah.
So
it has to happen. You can't have a multiverse without it.
And even because before all this Ezra Miller stuff came to light with his, whatever the hell he's got going on, where the hell he even is right now, I haven't heard anything that they've even found him to serve him these papers yet. So I mean, that guy's hiding in a cabin in Montana somewhere with his he's
in India to retreat with Will Smith
with his harem of women, but yeah, it's even before all that stuff happened, they were depending on the Flash to be the thing that kind of resets the DCEU.
Well, that's stupid.
Well, I mean, if you believe what they say, then they had no idea that Ezra Miller was into this shit.
I know.
With the exception of, I think at that point, maybe the thing in Norway or whatever the hell with the girl outside the bar, he choke slammed or whatever the hell that even was. It's like that had happened, but none of this other stuff had come out. The grooming stuff hadn't come up and things like that. But what's up, Pure Country Racing? What's up, brother? But
what's up, Coffee?
But yeah, so that was supposed to be significant, and they're kind of in a bad spot because I don't know that they can reshoot a lot of the movie. They've got time to do some reshoots, but it would be pricey. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be cost prohibitive, I don't think, to reshoot the ending. That's personally what I would do.
Well, no,
but I
you
mean,
wouldn't have
you need
to.
this movie to push the DCEU forward somehow.
You take one of the scenes where Ezra Miller Flash is running back to his, world, and he's in some, like I said, he's in a time vortex. There's bright, shiny lights all around him, however you want to make it look. And you cut it before he gets there, and you just have somebody wearing the suit finish running. You digitally put his face on him, and by the time he gets into that world fully, he morphs into some
Quantum
other
leap,
kind of
Tex.
similar. Huh?
Quantum leap. That's what comes to mind.
It's a quantum leap. Make up whichever term that you need to. But one scene, 5 seconds, all of this is fixed. We can move forward, and it's done. It's you don't have to reshoot anything.
There is this one rumor that persists that I think is 100% bullshit, but I can't discount it because it won't go away. That Grant Gustin, who plays Flash on the TV shows, on the CW show.
Yes, he's a good-looking kid. He'd be great for the movies.
Here's the thought process. Do you remember a couple of years ago that Ezra Miller showed up in some weird post-credit scene at the end of a season? And they had that one back and forth that made zero fucking sense because they never talked about it again, not in the series or in the movies. Because Flash kept getting pushed, movie kept getting pushed, directors kept leaving, so they never really got a chance to extemporize on that. So there's some thought that since there does exist this bridge between these two universes, that Grant Gustin could move over from the DC TV world into the DCEU, which they were trying to keep very separate, which is one of the reasons why they didn't want Batman and Superman for the longest time in the DCEU, but eventually they
Nobody
caved and brought
wanted
in
Ezra
Superman.
Miller to turn out to be the biggest creepo on the run either.
Very true. So a lot of fans want Grant Gustin to take it over, and I wouldn't be against seeing it, but if I'm Grant Gustin, I'm like, it's going to cost you a lot of money because I spent 9 years doing this already. I kind of want to move on to something else if I'm him. But, I mean, money talks. If they throw a big enough paycheck and they're like, hey, we don't want you to film 20 or 23 episodes in a year. We just want you to film a movie every couple of years for the next 3 or 4 films. Maybe you could entice him to doing that because that still gives them the freedom to go do another show or some other movie projects and things like that. It's not really called retainer. You just sign the contract. But, I mean, that could be something they announce here. I think it's really I think it's really outside the box. But that could be something they announce,
don't they? I mean, this Ezra Miller thing is just getting bigger and stupider. I mean, at what point do people not care about him, or it becomes so big that Warner Brothers starts really getting damaged for it?
I don't know. In the court of public opinion, they're already pretty damaged. So,
if they don't do something with the Amber Heard, do you really trust them to do anything with Ezra Miller?
She's not going to.
I mean, they've got two. Problematic people.
I think they're going to cut her out of the movie. I think they're going to cut her out.
I don't think they're going to cut her out of the movie. I think they're going to use her as little as possible. She's going to be in it, so that she's going to make her money, and I don't think she's going to be in there anymore.
I'm still
see, that's the problem.
Aquaman 3,
I've read the spoilers. I've read the spoilers, and I mean, I won't say them on here, but unfortunately, she plays a big part into the ending if they don't change it.
He said those spoilers in court, Tex, during the Johnny Depp thing. They said it in court.
I want to see her get served with a subpoena to appear in court underwater. I want some guy to swim up in like a suit and be like, blah, 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 blah. Are you Mira? Okay, you need to appear in this Johnny Depp trial. That would be the greatest, most meta thing ever done in movies.
Yep.
I'm down for it.
Squirrel moment, but yeah.
But yeah, that's
I totally forgot that came out in the court. I completely forgot about that. I paid so little attention to that. I was like, I hate both of you.
Warner Brothers was really mad. They were really mad about it. That it came out.
I completely forgot. That's where from where I saw the spoiler, I guarantee that's probably where it came from. If we're being completely honest here, but it is what it is.
But yeah, that's what's on deck for tomorrow at in Hall H at Comic-Con, and then of course it's all going to wrap up Sunday Marvel's pretty much going to have the last day to itself. 4 o'clock in the afternoon,
Really?
Marvel Studios is good. Well, I mean, if they have other stuff scheduled, it's not mentioned in this article. I'm sure they have other stuff scheduled. It's just not mentioned in this article. Hall H, Kevin Feige and company will make their triumphant return to Hall H. They actually did not have a panel last year, which is odd. With a panel that is expected to showcase footage from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and maybe a few more surprises. Some are also expecting Feige could reveal his end game for Phase 4, which a lot of us think ties heavily into Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Now, for Joe Blow, their predictions are this. First trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I can see that happening. I think it's about time we get... I mean, it comes out in November. I think it's about time we get a trailer for it. And possibly a teaser for Guardians of the Galaxy, the Christmas special, or the actual film. I don't think it's going to be the actual film. They've only got an hour scheduled at Hall H. So I don't think they're going to show a full film of anything. But some footage I think is possible. Also, they may reveal a bit of juicy casting, but it's too early to say what. Which leads us to the other thing I was going to talk about. Let's see, where is it at? It is a rumor out there right now that in a bid to win Comic-Con this year, which I don't think they need to do, that Kevin Feige is going to walk out there. He is going to announce the director and the cast for Fantastic Four, and probably a release month. Not an exact date, but probably a release month. So he'll walk out there, he'll introduce the director of the cast, and then he'll say it's going to be coming in spring of 2024.
And hopefully not announcing he's changing departments in Disney and abandoning it all.
You never know. No, I think that either gets made at D23 or an investor call.
Gotcha.
I think that's where that kind of an announcement would come down. Actually, the investor call makes more sense because that's more of a business move than it is a creative move. So the investor call would probably be more likely for that. But I mean, hey, you know, anything can happen at Comic-Con these days, and this is the first in-person Comic-Con in a couple of years because of COVID. So
I've watched some of the live footage on YouTube, just of the streets and people outside. There are a lot of people there.
I very badly want to go to Comic-Con at least once in my life. My problem is San Diego is not designed for that kind of a thing. And I've heard so many horror stories. I've heard so many horror stories about, like, believe it or not, buying tickets to Comic-Con is relatively easy. They're only like $40 or $50 a piece. You would think they're like several $100s a piece. No, you have to register on Comic-Con. I'm registered on Comic-Con's website. You have to register on you have to be registered on the website, and you have to be like at your computer with your credit card in hand, ready to go as soon as they go on sale. Because the moment they go on sale, they're gone. They're like opening day. They're like opening day to baseball games. They are not. It takes about 30 seconds and they're gone.
Now,
the problem with buying tickets to Comic-Con is that they're not transferable. So if I buy a ticket to Comic-Con and something comes up and I can't go, I can't just be like, "Hey, Tex, you want my ticket to Comic-Con? I can't go. You know, here's my pass."
Lame.
It's
and they don't open up another spot for other people to buy later.
They will not. Well, they might sell some extra tickets later on, but I mean, it's not like some sporting events where they might release a bank of tickets a day or two before the big game or whatever.
I don't think they have anything in place where it's like, okay, there's only like 50% capacity at the moment. Maybe we'll let some people come in buy tickets to get in the door right now.
Well, because that place is already packed. Again, it comes down to San Diego not being capable to do this thing.
Is it
easily.
The building itself?
It's not.
Small?
It's not the building. San Diego is not set. Well. One of the things that I've heard said a lot over the last 5 or 10 years is that Comic-Con should move to Las Vegas. Because for the simple reason that Las Vegas puts on conventions of this size 2 or 3 every weekend. Like this is what Las Vegas does. San Diego is not logistically prepared for this. Now they do as well as they can do, but because before San Diego Comic-Con became a big thing, it was just always in San Diego. So it's kind of a legacy thing that's always there. But a lot of people are just kind of like, maybe you want to rethink. Now, it would suck because San Diego's done a lot to kind of like attract things like Comic-Con. It's like they spent, like I have relatives in San Diego, and they've told me that they're not
doing enough to make it
infrastructure. They've hit their limit. It's like, it's not a matter of doing enough. It's just like the town is not designed for that kind of thing where Vegas is. It's a strip. It's one big long strip of everything going on, whereas San Diego, it's not built like that. So San Diego's got it. They really, really struggle with like mass transportation and buses, hotels. It's like a lot of people will buy tickets to Comic-Con and then they have to rent a hotel that's 2 or 3 hours away. because
What?
because San Diego was all full.
Jeez.
It's like
That's
every
asinine.
Airbnb, every bed and breakfast, every friend's couch, everything. It's like it's either you sleep on the
Wow.
street outside the San Diego Convention Center, or you stay at a hotel 3 hours away. That's why a lot of people get kind of turned off to going. I mean, I'd like to go at least once in my life just to say I went, but
Wait till it goes to Vegas. Eventually, why don't they do it where they do it like every 5 years in San Diego, and they take it different cities like WrestleMania or something? I don't know.
The problem with that is there's conventions all over the place at all different kinds of years. There's actually a really big
Yeah.
Comic-Con in New York that a lot of people will go to. I'll probably end up going to that one instead of ever going to San Diego. There's actually there's one that happened this weekend, actually, not too far from me. And there's
The only ones I've ever been to were here.
yeah,
I
there's
went to the Dallas, and I
Were they
got to
cool,
meet.
Tech?
I met
Were they
Stan
busy?
Lee. Oh, it was huge. I met Stan Lee. I got to meet the guys from Supernatural, Jensen Ackles,
Wow.
and I can't remember the other guy's name, whatever. But there were big stars. That 5 years ago, they had a Comic Con. They had Ben Affleck when he was doing Batman v Superman. They had Amy Jo Johnson, the Pink Power Ranger. They had a bunch of big stars
Sorry.
at Dallas Comic Con. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess they got who they could, but I mean, hell, it is
Yeah.
what it is. They didn't announce like big movies or anything. You just got to meet the stars of the films and stuff.
Mm.
But I mean, I'd love to go to Hall H, but there's nothing that's came out this year that's catered to me enough. Like, if they were going to announce, the next Friday the 13th movie, we're going to premiere at Hall H, then you got my attention. But, Dungeons and Dragons and Marvel, that's not my crowd. You know what I mean? So,
Do they stream
It's
it
very-
live in these, or do you have to watch it later so the people in the hall
Ooh.
get first dibs at the info?
I don't think they stream it, do they, Frank?
no, not Comic-Con.
should.
Not Comic-Con.
See,
They will do
stream it and
something.
charge you. They should charge you like a ticket
There you go.
to stream
Do
it
that.
and watch it from home, but you're there, but you paid to
Mhm.
get the code. Get in the room.
Well, yeah, it depends on the
They're
content,
digital
really.
people.
Yeah, it depends on the content, though, because some of the, like at CinemaCon and stuff like that, a lot of the footage that they show at things like CinemaCon, which is not really meant for fans, it's meant for the theater owners.
No, it's
A lot of
Theater.
a lot of those things like sizzle reels and things like that aren't really meant for public consumption. They'll release
Is
those
Comic-Con
months
meant for-
afterwards.
It's meant for public consumption.
well,
They
it-
invite people.
It
Oh.
is, but sometimes they don't want the content to get out. It's like they want you to buy the ticket to go in and watch the trailer. They want you to buy the ticket to go in there and listen to the panel
So
with
they don't
all
let
the
people
guys
have
from
their
Justice
phones out
League.
taking videos during the panel.
No.
Oh, I
Only-
assume all
Somebody
the
always
videos.
does.
Only-
shot
Somebody
out.
always does.
Well,
Every year it
what they do now is they might have kind of like the president will have like a press pool or something following around. They will have a press pool of certain people that have like prior passes and stuff that can do some recording and some interviewing. But as far as like
Oh.
just holding your phone up and recording like the entire panel, it's like that.
Yeah.
They do release some of that stuff, but it's usually way after the fact, after everybody's seen it. So like in the next week or so, you're going to see like a whole like 2-hour panel from Marvel. It might drop somewhere on YouTube, like Disney might
So
put
it's a
it up or
big
whatever,
deal to
but-
go because then you can go on YouTube and talk about what you heard and learned.
Yeah, well, most people just do what I do. It's like there would be people like, I don't think John Campy went down this year, but there's going to be people like Christian Harloff and some other guys that are down there doing their stuff, and they're going to have their little quick hits where they talk about what they
Gotcha.
just saw from the Marvel panel or from this movie's release or whatever. So, but
I assumed it was live streamed. If nothing else, they let people take videos. I had no idea it was like this big of a deal. No wonder the tickets are so. Yeah. Okay, makes more sense.
But yeah, the rumor that he's going to be rolling out there and introducing the Fantastic Four, I got to be honest. Here's why I don't think this is going to happen. Number one, they don't need Comic-Con this year. They've got D23 coming up in a couple weeks. I thought that they might reveal the Fantastic Four stuff, and then and then maybe like the Black Panther Wakanda thing, and then drop the real big bombs in a couple weeks at D23. What could that be? That could be maybe a first look at Mahershala Ali's Blade, maybe. I don't think they. I think they just started filming that, so there might be a little bit of footage that they can show, maybe some behind the scenes stuff. but I think they just started actual principal photography on that movie.
There's an awful lot of talk about X-Men.
Yeah, well, a lot of people think that might be a bomb that they dropped too at D23. Is they're actually going to announce that they have cast either somebody like Professor X or Wolverine. I mean, look, it's not outside the realm of possibility. We talked about it last week. The idea of Taron Egerton playing Logan. They could walk him out on stage either maybe at Comic-Con, but more than likely at D23 and say, here's our new Wolverine, Taron Egerton. And that would certainly be a big
better
pop.
be 5 foot tall and jacked up on steroids like the comic books. That's what I want.
He's on the short. He's not quite Hugh Jackman height wise.
Right. He's not 6'3". Okay.
Yeah, anybody can put some muscle on and do that stuff before.
Right.
I mean, because it's still going to be another year and a half before they get any of that X-Men stuff in front of the camera. But they could lay out their plans for the next 4 or 5 years, and that could include an actual release date for X-Men, an actual filming dates for Fantastic Four, or actually other stuff. The real big bombs are going to be dropped at D23, but I mean they could release some stuff out there. It's going to be interesting. The other interesting thing is going to be is if they do announce the director for Fantastic Four is who it's going to be, because John Watt, who was originally going to be directing it, left.
He switched up projects.
Yeah, he left. He's going to go direct. What is he going to direct? He's going to direct a Star Wars thing.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And so now, of course, after seeing John Krasinski in the Multiverse of Madness, a lot of people are like, "Okay, that's it. They finally brought him in. They're going to announce him as director. They're going to announce him and his wife. Blah blah blah." But what Scott was it Scott Derrickson? No, the guy that directed Multiverse of Madness, not Derrickson. Why am I saying
Sam Raimi?
Sam Raimi. Thank you. Sam Raimi actually came out and said that was more just an Easter egg. If there is nothing to the idea of John Krasinski continuing as Reed Richards. That was something that version of him died. But remember, there's other universes where we could see him.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I don't like the whole multiverse thing.
Mr. Fantastic. He's supposed to be the smartest man on Earth, right? Why would he flat out tell Wanda, "Hey, here's how you beat this Black Bolt guy. He's going to talk to you in a minute." Like, I watched that. I'm like, wait a minute. What? Why are you doing this? So
it's ding, ding, ding.
I say this to JP all the time. It's suspension of disbelief. You just go with it. It's because you have to have the movie.
I'm right there with you.
You're
it's
a
like,
genius. You're touted as like smarter than Iron Man, everybody else, right? But you tell the one thing that's like I'm holding a gun to you, Frank, and like, this gun's not loaded. I'm not going to shoot you with it. And then you hit me in the face and take it away from me. Like, that's exactly what they did. So, I don't know. Problematic.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, suspension of disbelief. That's a plot point because the movie has to be a movie, and if you don't have that, then it's no movie. But yeah, I'm interested to see the cast. I mean, I think a lot of this talk about John Krasinski not being Reed Richards moving forward, I think it's a lot of smoke. I mean, this is one of the things that Marvel does. They try to keep us guessing. They release these things here and these lies there to counteract them and all that, just to keep us guessing. Because at that point, nobody knows what the real story is, so it's really hard to be spoiled and you have no idea what the hell they're talking about. But
they should cast him in the movie, but not reveal his role. Like cast John Krasinski you cast John Krasinski in a guy that's basically his clone, right? But they never reveal which one is actually Mr. Fantastic.
They make John Krasinski the janitor.
Yeah, he's just sitting having a cup of coffee at a coffee shop. That's his whole role. That's what I would do. But
you know what would be crazy? You know what would be crazy? There's no way in hell they're going to do this, and I'm just shooting this out from left field. Maybe Krasinski is going to be in the movie, but he's going to be Dr. Doom.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because that's
variant. Actually, the bad guy.
That's the villain that everybody wants in Marvel right now. Because Dr. Doom is the only villain that, like Dr. Doom and Galactus. Now that we've gone through the whole thing with Thanos, those are the only two villains that people want to see. And now that they've got access to Dr. Doom and to the Fantastic Four, they own all that IP now. That would be a big bait and switch. They're not announcing that tomorrow. that's the bomb they say for D23. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's like a 1% chance at best that's going to happen. But wouldn't that just set the internet on fire? Is if like you roll them out there and be like, here's our Reed Richards, and then you roll out some other actor and people react, and then here's our Sue Storm, and here's our Doctor Doom, and out comes fucking John Krasinski. Wouldn't that blow up the fucking internet?
You might get a heart attack in the room.
Oh my dude, that place would fucking pop. I mean there would be an explosion in that room. Like people would lose their shit. And that's the one thing that nobody thinks about. But I mean, look, again, a 1% chance that's happening at best, and that's me stretching it out a little bit, giving a little bit more hope than I think I should. But I don't know. I mean, it could happen.
That's a cool idea, though.
But I don't know. I mean, again, I want to see a Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer come out, mostly because I'm really curious how they're gonna approach this thing without Chadwick Boseman. It's you
and everybody else.
I personally, I would have recast him. I would have recast him, and I could think of 3 or 4 people that would have filled the role very admirably and would have made Chadwick Boseman proud. But when they announced really quickly that they weren't going to recast, that they were just not going to have T'Challa in there, and I'm like, can you make a Superman movie without Kal-El? Can you make a Batman movie without Bruce Wayne? I mean, you could say that they did it with the Joker, kind of, but the Joker is the centerpiece of that movie, and it's not really a comic book movie as much as it is kind of this weird character study.
On the other side,
guesses of.
Honestly, there's been so much talk about like things like John Krasinski's potential involvement and who's going to direct, and so much talk about things like No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, that they've kind of managed to keep all the Black Panther stuff under the radar. I mean, because it's always been farther away than some of the stuff that was right in front of us. So, but now, especially after this trailer drops, once the trailer drops, I don't think there's any way they can stop people from really, really examining it closely and trying to figure out exactly what this movie is going to be. So that's why they may save the Black Panther 2 trailer for D23. I think it probably comes out tomorrow. And I tell you what, if that comes out tomorrow, I'm sitting right down at this computer and I'm talking about it for a few minutes.
Well, there is one piece of Marvel news that about a week ago, I saw it trending pretty heavily. A lot of people were saying that Ryan Gosling was going to be Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
Like, I mean, that's something they could drop in. Yes, my favorite Marvel movie is the first Ghost Rider film. I love that movie. That is amazing. That beats anything Marvel's done yet. You had Nick Cage going off. You had Sam Elliott as one of the original Ghost Riders. Who sees a flaming horse literally with flames coming out of his running and doesn't love it? Come on, that's cool. I mean,
I did love Sam Elliott though in that movie. that was a really cool visual. Him riding a flaming horse.
Sam Elliott Marvel's in anything is cool.
Oh yeah, the definition of it.
Sam Elliott makes everything better. But
obviously, I'm biased, but I'd love to see a new Ghost Rider. I mean, he's probably my favorite Marvel character. I'd love to check another one out.
Have you said anything publicly, like interest in it, or is it just completely fan?
I don't know.
Driven.
There was a lot of reputable sources coming out and talking about it, and there's been many times where Marvel rolls. Oh, I'm not playing that guy. 2 weeks later, they're in the movie. Just look at the new Spider-Man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
that's true.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I don't see them announcing that this year. Well, because if you're going to incorporate Ghost Rider into everything, I don't have a problem with that. I think it'd be fun to see Kevin Feige get a hold of the character. Is it in one of the phases
on the list? Is it established in one of the phases? Okay.
They have not established that they are doing anything with Ghost Rider. Well, as of us sitting here right now, tomorrow could change that. D23 in a few weeks could change that drastically. I don't think it's going to.
What about Werewolf by Night? Because they announced that Werewolf by Night was going to be their Halloween special on Disney Plus. Maybe they show something from that.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That's a good possibility.
I mean, assuming it's still coming out and it didn't get, pushed back or whatever.
When did they announce it?
Aren't they really pushing that new Hocus Pocus movie for Disney for Halloween?
That'll be a D23 thing. That's not Marvel. That's
a D23.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
the panel is going to be specifically Marvel stuff, but that D23, yeah, that's another interesting thing. It's a good thing you point that out. Is D23 is going to be more than Marvel. We're going to see like if there's another big like Pixar animation thing that they want to drop.
All of
Yeah, that'll probably drop at D23. Star Wars stuff. If there's any big Star Wars news or trailers they're going to release.
Where's D23 going to be at?
Anaheim. Anaheim. Anaheim.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean they could drop some other Disney stuff there, but no, not Disney has not really ever really had a big presence at Comic-Con. They've had D23 really for quite some time now. They just in the last like 5 or 10 years have wanted to make a big deal out of it. But yeah, I mean I don't know. It could be a lot of anything. I personally I think a Black Panther trailer is probably gonna drop tomorrow. I don't think they're gonna show. I don't think there's time. They've only got an hour block, so I don't think they're going to show any movies. I really don't look. I don't see them announcing a Fantastic Four cast. I don't see them doing it. The cast and the director for Fantastic Four, I don't think it's going to happen. But if they want, I could totally see them wanting to do that little bit of gamesmanship and trying to like poke at DC a little bit. Because let's face it, if Cavill comes out tomorrow as introduced by The Rock as being in Black Adam, DC is going to win Comic-Con. There's nothing Marvel's going to do.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think Marvel's okay to let DC win Comic-Con, but winning by a lot and winning by 3 points is different. And I think they're like, we want you to win by 3 points. We don't want you to win by 2 touchdowns. We want you to win by 3 points. We'll give you your 3-point victory. Because on D23, we're going to drop some bombs. We're going to take you guys out of the fucking news cycle, so it's not going to matter. So it's a possibility that we get some big Fantastic forecasting, but I honestly I don't see it happening because there's with it becoming more and more talked about.
Didn't they want to do that as a standout thing, like away from something like this, and just blow everybody away with a sudden trailer being dropped? After
because part of the marketing is the gamesmanship that happens at places like Comic-Con. That's part of the marketing. It's part of public perception. So like I said, they're okay to lose Comic-Con this year because remember we're still kind of feeling the effects as far as release schedules and stuff are concerned of the COVID thing.
Yeah.
So we're still kind of getting our sea legs back as far as production schedules, release schedules, things like that. We're still kind of working all that out. So next year, I think Marvel might come a little harder in Comic-Con, but this year I think they're okay to play second fiddle to DC on this one this year.
I think there's one thing that Marvel could do with Fantastic Four without revealing all their cards, and I don't put a lot of stock in this rumor, but that whole rumor of a Fantastic Four directed by a certain Steven Spielberg, if they come out and drop that,
if that happens, they might win Comic-Con.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They can still win comic. They don't even have to announce, Mr. Fantastic, thank Human Torch. They don't have to say any of that. They have Kevin Feige come out and say, okay, well, Fantastic Four comes out in 2024, and your director is, and he points to the screen, and Steven Spielberg's picture pops up. That's going to, as much as I love Henry Cavill, even I have to admit, that's going to dwarf any of that.
Yeah,
that's going to shut it down.
Yeah, what Tex is talking about is it did come out that Kevin Feige approached Steven Spielberg, not officially that I know of, but there was a short discussion about Spielberg stepping up to direct Fantastic Four.
And was there any hint if he even wants to?
From what I've heard, Spielberg was a hard no, which is why this hasn't been talked about a lot more. But Steven Spielberg's not. Look, he ain't new to this game. Yeah. He ain't new to this game at all, and he is not a stranger to directing some of the biggest movies that come out. I mean, so. Right. So now my problem with it is Spielberg is one of these guys. He wants 100% creative control, whereas Kevin Feige's like, you can have creative control, but it's got to fit in this box. Right. And I don't know that Spielberg is one of these guys. It's like, well, I want to deviate over here a little bit, and Kevin Feige's like, no, we have this large universe. This is the part that you exist in. If you fuck up and leave that part, you're going to screw the whole thing up. I don't know that Spielberg is one of the guys that does that. That said, what has Spielberg not done with his career up at this point? He's never done like a legit superhero movie. That's like the one thing that he hasn't crossed off the bucket list. He's done horror with Jaws. He's done the kick-ass period piece with stuff like Saving Private Ryan and the war movie with Saving Private Ryan and the period piece with Schindler's List. He's done the mobster movie with Road to Perdition, which is one of the most underrated mob movies ever. He did his first musical this last year with West Side Story. It's like at this point, the guy's just like, Jesus Christ, what have I not done? Yeah, I've not made an animated film. What the fuck? I may as well go do that now too. At this point, he's just doing it to show how much better he is than everybody else. So, but what's the one thing he hasn't done? I don't think he's going to do it.
Fair enough.
But if they want to win Comic-Con tomorrow, you walk Steven Spielberg out there and he says, "I'm directing Fantastic Four." That's it. The game's
Or he comes out and he's going to play in the movie. There you go.
Yeah,
Give
he's
him
been
a
in movies.
spot in the movie.
He's done some acting. I thought he could. He's done some acting. Yeah, all I know is if they walk Spielberg out there tomorrow, I'm going to shit a brick. It's going to be made of solid gold, and it's going to be worth about $200 million because that would be the biggest explosion ever.
They should have a movie about the Fantastic Four when they're geriatric and old and retired in another universe, and he can play one of them. He can play Reed Richards.
It worked with Logan. We got Old Man Logan. That's what Logan was. It was the movie iteration of the comic book Old Man Logan. So that's a possibility.
Chris Evans ain't doing Captain America no more. Put him back in Johnny Storm role.
There's been talk of that too, because he's been in talks with Marvel about coming back somehow. So that's not even off the table. And with this whole multiverse thing, maybe they bring in different Fantastic Four characters from different multiverses to build this version of Fantastic Four. Maybe he goes back as Johnny Storm. I personally think it's stupid, but I mean, I wouldn't want to see it. I'm not saying I wouldn't go watch it opening night, but I don't want to go see it. But
I will say this though. I will go buy a Marvel T-shirt tomorrow and wear it on screen and put it on Twitter. If they march Nick Cage out there on stage and say he's returning as Ghost Rider, you've got my money and my support.
And you know what? His career has hit a bit of a resurgence. I
want to see that movie where he plays himself and he goes to the Middle Eastern guy's birthday party.
That's a fun movie. That's a fun movie. That one's good. You need to watch that one. That one's a lot of fun.
I know. Me and Jeremy were crying on jeans over that, and I still haven't gotten a chance to go see it.
That one is fun.
But with Nick Cage having a bit of a career resurgence, that's not off the table. Now, I don't think it's going to happen because it takes time to put these things together, and it's only really in the last year or so that Nick Cage has kind of had his come up. But hey, man, I don't know. I think something like that would probably happen at D23. But I mean,
you could do a Mask of Zorro sequel thing with him, where he brings another guy in and he trains him to be the new Ghost Rider.
What about Deadpool? What if they announce something with Deadpool?
I think they're saving that for D23. I think we're going to hear. So? I don't think Deadpool's going to be a big part of D23. It's not going to be like a big announcement. I think they might reveal like a shooting schedule. Or they might announce that the script is done and they've cast a couple of people to play in the movie, but they're really just now getting moving on that. I think it's interesting that they chose day before yesterday to officially announce that they're putting, for the first time, 2 R-rated movies on Disney Plus in Deadpool, 3 I guess, Deadpool 1 and 2 and Logan, since they own the IPs now. A lot of people thought that they would put the R-rated stuff on Hulu since Disney owns half of Hulu. Because they've never really done anything R-rated. I mean, they're Disney.
But if they bring it over to Disney Plus, they're going to get more people coming to Disney Plus that don't watch kid content. Raises her hand.
I think that's the idea, though. I think that's why they're doing it. They want to open up a little bit. Now, there's probably going to be, of course, like some warnings that pop up in front of it, but whatever. I mean, that's no big deal. But
this may be upsetting to anybody over the age of whatever.
This will most certainly be upsetting to anybody over the age of...
Can they start having warnings for SJW bullshit? This movie was made in mind to make everybody happy. So if you're an authentic movie lover, you're going to hate this shit.
Yeah,
Sorry,
this movie is meant to piss you off. Enjoy. Have fun. Everybody open a beer. Crack open a beer. Let's get a buzz. Let's watch Deadpool. But I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen. Like I said, I don't think Disney's going to do much tomorrow. I'm sorry, Marvel. I don't think Marvel's going to do much tomorrow. No, I'm sorry, I lied. Sunday. I think. I mean, DC's going to go out there. They're going to throw their best at it, and it's going to win Comic Con for whatever that's worth this year. Disney's going to go ahead and finish second. They're going to be like, okay, whatever. We'll see you in a couple weeks in Anaheim when we give you everything that's going to take DC out of the news cycle, and that's going to be it. But it's going to be some exciting stuff from DC. I honestly, really what I want to see is I want to see more footage or at least some images of Michael Keaton as Batman. That's what I want to see.
I think you and a lot of people want that. So I think you should get it.
Because at this point, I don't even give a shit about Ezra Miller being the Flash at all. You can cut him completely out of that movie and make this a new Batman movie, and I think I'd be better to get.
He's not even the star in his own movie.
I would gladly.
He's got 2 Batman in that movie. He's not the star of that movie.
I would gladly take a 45-minute long movie of just the Batmen doing their thing, of Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck doing their thing, and just not having Flash, and then just like there'd be some like wiggly woos that come across the screen when he does his Flash stuff that resets everything. I'm totally okay with that.
You find a guy who has his body type and have him rolled over on a couch just sleeping and snoring. Like, he ran so hard that he's got to take a 5-year nap.
Hey, whatever.
He'll come back later.
Hey,
Don't
you know
worry.
what? I really want Ezra Miller to be good in this Flash movie. You know why? Because this is probably the last time we're ever going to see him.
Probably. Yeah.
At this point, unless he has a real big change of heart about whatever the fuck is going on with him and the whole grooming this little Indian girl.
He's gonna end up in jail, probably.
Yeah, he's not in a good place right now. I have a really bad feeling.
He's the new Dobson. He's the new Dodson from Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. But anyway, let us know what you guys think. We're halfway through Comic-Con. The big hitters are coming up tomorrow and Sunday. So if anything serious pops off tomorrow, I'll try to come up. Like if a big trailer drops, I might try to pop on for a minute and give a breakdown. But if not, we'll probably be back here Thursday talking about what DC and Marvel give us in their Hall H presentations, because there's lots of potential. Like we talked about, there's lots of potential. And I think that's a pretty good place to start wrapping things up. Thank you, all of you guys, for who came in. Not our usual viewership, but I mean for a kind of like spontaneous Friday night thing. It's not bad at all. And, maybe we got lucky with Ken being on vacation and him not doing anything tonight.
Have a good vacation, Ken.
Yeah, have a good vacation, Ken. Have fun.
Hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, but thanks obviously to my co-host for coming and hanging out with me tonight. The first one being the Dowager Countess Lady Cora. Where can the folks find you on the internet?
Nowhere. I'm kind of just, being a recluse. It's all good. I'll be here Thursdays.
Keep banging on Cora on Twitter and in the chat room and in the comments to start her own thing. She talks about it all the time.
No.
She says she wants to do it.
Nobody gives a fuck about what I think.
You never know that until
you
never know that until you get your first subscriber that isn't a family member. Then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I actually have a fan?
Okay.
Like, thank you, fan, for subscribing to my channel. And obviously, my man, the Shape from Texas. Tex, thanks for coming on, my man. What do you got going
on? Pretty much talking horror 24/7. I've had Halloween hands on the brain since the trailer dropped. I talk horror and do my thing, and I pop up here and there whenever I'm asked. I just having fun. So you can find me on Twitter at /Vision, and I'll be on the Derailed shows, or if a horror topic needs to be discussed. And
And you're also busy chasing goats.
Oh yes, we've brought in a new goat to the family named Jethro, so I'll be busy doing that. So that'll be fun. He's already bit me once, and he peed on my dog. So this is gonna be fun. So it'll like I said, at /Vision, I'll post goat stuff, or hit me up if you have horror questions, or you want to debate me, or yell at me for my hatred of Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. I'll probably get some hate mail on that, but I welcome that too. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
You see his Twitter handle at the bottom of the screen, at /Vision on Twitter. Go check him out as well. Like he says, he also does a bunch of stuff over on Derailed.
Jeremy's not here, but go look at Groom Tuesday everything.
Oh yeah,
he always says we don't plug him.
Off the Reels on the Derailed Patreon. It's $1 a month. Go subscribe. We're talking zombie. Go check that out.
Yes, he is. Go check that out. Obviously, I want you guys, if you would, go check out all the description, all the links to all the great YouTube creators who are down there. Night Watch Zone, all these guys, a lot of great people that talk about movies. Go check them out as well. Sorry Jeremy couldn't be here, but he had plans tonight. Again, this was kind of a spontaneous thing, and he wasn't able to join us. But obviously, go check him out. Grim Tuesday 23 across all platforms: Twitch, YouTube, email, whatever. I mean, just go find Jeremy and break his balls for whatever you want to break his balls for.
And tell him what pop figure to buy next.
Yes. Whatever. Another pop figure to add to his collection of what I'm sure now is somewhere near the 500,000 mark. And as for me, you can find me here every Thursday normally, talking about all the cool stuff going on in the world of movies and television and entertainment. We haven't had any Ezra Miller news. I honestly,
okay.
I feel it is okay, but I feel weird not talking about it. I feel like it's on the cusp of something happening.
No one has purchased, Frank.
I'm
maturing.
Hey,
right.
maybe he figures himself out, and the next story is a good one. But you can find me here on Thursday talking about all the movie stuff. Sometimes on Mondays for the bigger reviews, but I don't really see anything right now coming up until maybe, I don't know, not for at least another couple of weeks. Or you can find me on Sundays at 9 o'clock Central Time over on the Derail News and Podcast, talking about all the other craziness going on in the world outside of the world of entertainment. We'll be talking about, Sunday we'll obviously be talking a little bit more about the Vince McMahon stuff, so if you were interested in that topic, go check out Derailed on Sunday. A lot of wrestling fans in that community. There's going to be a lot of discussion, a lot of things that maybe I didn't think to hit on when we were talking about it, and some other stuff is going on around the news as well. And again, thank you all for supporting the channel, for coming out and hanging out with us on a oddball kind of Friday night show. Thank you very much again to my co-host for kicking ass, and we'll see you guys later on.